How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We are going to be going over the currently out of print DC Omnis and Absolute editions, and we will be kickstarting that poll today, kicking it off, and then sending the list once it's all said and done to DC. The top 20 is what I do, and what I did last year. And man, we got a lot coming back to print.
Yeah,
but I'm not doing this alone. With me is Taylor Talks Comics. Who are you, my friend?
I am Taylor Talks Comics. Thank you for joining us. I have a YouTube channel. I just did my library tour over there. It's got a pretty good reaction. So if you'd like to see a good library tour, I would advise you to maybe subscribe to that. If I could veer off topic real quick too, I want to ask both of you, since you're both of the age, do you remember MTV's Liquid Television?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because this book just came out by Fantagraphics this week. Do you remember Richard Solo's Invisible Hands?
Yeah, I remember that.
It rings a bell. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, this is a really cool collection. Dana Marie Andra, fan of the channel, was the editor on this.
Okay.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
And this was just like a 32 issue comic that Richard Solo did back in the 80s. And then MTV had him animate it for Liquid Television. And this book is like full of like behind the scenes stuff and all kinds of cool stuff from that Dana scooped up. She's a I guess she's a good friend of Richard Sala's. And then Dan Klaus edited this, designed this book collection. So okay. I have a video on my channel that came out today for this. Fantagraphics.
Yes. Absolutely lovely.
Is that available already? Or is it?
Yeah, it comes out this week.
This week.
Brand new this week.
Okay.
But I know fans of Liquid Television might get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Liquid
Television. On my video, I show off like some short clips of Liquid Television on there too to refresh your memories.
I remember the precursor to Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beavis and Butthead debuted there. Eon Flux was it debuted there. Yeah. Stick Figure Theater, I remember.
So I was in high school when that was coming out.
Yeah.
Lars?
Yes, sir.
Writing Wizard articles back then, and then during that time when Liquid Television was on. How are you, my friend?
Well, good. Lars Pearson, publisher and editor-in-chief of Norweigen Press, formerly of Wizard Magazine, and yes, I am ready to go tonight. I have my Legion flight ring on, as some people in the stream have seen. And this is the DC reprint poll announcement, and reprints are important. I mean, they're good for you. They're healthy for you. They're very good for your teeth. They're just like fluoride. Okay. They're certainly better for your teeth as pleasures go than crystal meth. In fact, I think that should be the blurb on every new omnibus. Better for your teeth than crystal meth.
Lars, I got to ask. I know because we are both fellow Legion of Superheroes fans.
Yes.
Did you get I'm assuming you already have the deluxe edition of the Dark Side?
Of course. The Great Dark Saga. Yeah.
Did you see the new one has a poster in it?
No.
Yeah, the new edition. I'm so mad because I have the original edition, but the new edition has an awesome poster of the whole cast of characters in it, in the back of it.
They got you, Lars. That's how they're going to get you.
I don't want to buy multiple versions. Well, the coloring is also weird on the original. It's a case where I have the hardcover, which is gorgeous, but the coloring is weird, and they fixed it for the trade. So I have the trade. I actually have two versions already. And now you're saying I need to buy a third one. Is it the Giffen poster?
Yeah, and it has there's 100 plus.
Oh my god,
Legion Superhero. I was so mad because I was like, oh, I don't need the reprint. I already have that. But then I think it was Omar's video, and he's like, look at this, and he shows the cool poster. I'm like, dang it, I want that poster.
I ripped it out and I burned it, and I showed the video to Jess just to make him upset at me. Speaking of Jess, he cannot join us because his router is messed up still. Hopefully he'll get all that fixed. And I was just kidding about burning things. I don't do that here. I would never burn a poster, even if it includes Feral Lad. What's going on with your TV, Lars?
Well, no, remember ages ago we did a show and my TV was broken, and I, being old as well, it magically fixed itself. I don't even know that I can claim any credit for fixing it. It just poof, technology came back together because I kept pulling the plug and restarting it, and then magically it came back to life. I don't know. I applied some crystal meth, and then it was absolutely fine. Well, I live in Iowa, so we're big on crystal meth here. It helps the economy.
Right. And what has the poster? It is the Legion of Superheroes, the Darkness Saga, the new printing of the deluxe hardcover.
Yeah, great.
It's got a new poster.
Do I have it?
Yeah, it's not just it's like a pull-out poster.
It's like a fold-out poster.
Oh my
It's
god,
a big one. Yeah,
oh
and
my god,
it's
now
a beautiful poster.
he went through some horrible lightning storms last week, as we did here in the state of Kentucky. That's why he dropped so quick.
it's storming here as I'm doing this, so who knows?
Iowa seems family friendly.
Yes.
Hey Alex, how are you? Okay. Just want to welcome everybody here to the stream. These are the current out of print Omnis and Absolute editions. Some of these you may see still on sale, much like the Marvel stuff. If it's officially out of print in the direct market and book market through the distributors is when they're added on the list. Just because you probably see it on sale somewhere doesn't mean that it's out of print on the distribution level. And I think it's only fair that everybody gets to vote for what they want to. So I did want to pull up and let me see. Okay. Yes. So a big thank you to Dom of X for helping us with this, Jim for making things so much easier for people to vote on, Derek Tyler for sending me the list of out of print books, and I was comparing and contrasting, and Dom and I went through the list pretty thoroughly, and of course James Abel for kind of helping us with the backbone of this, and Taylor who put the slideshow together, and Lars, former Wizard magazine employee.
I'm here too. Now, Omar, do you have any stats to share with the people? Because we were
Peter. I'm not going to show you any stats. I'm going to jump right in.
Okay, we were discussing a couple interesting things before the stream started, and that is that for one thing, the DC catalog, broadly speaking, is smaller than the Marvel catalog.
Yes.
So when you're looking at the total number of possible reprints, it is simply not as many, which is again indicative of they have released less stuff.
About 30, I would say about 33% less. However, this year they have been killing it.
Yes,
like in 2025, late 2024, they started making some changes, but in 2025 and then some in January of 2026, they are just bringing it. And
they are
putting out multiple Omnis a month. It used to be just like one Omni a month that they would do. Now it's like multiple Omnis. Absolute editions are still coming out, and of course they're DC Finest. So I think this is going to be a little different next year. I think they're going to focus less on reprints, which is going to give us the problem that Marvel has, where a lot of things go out of print because they're focusing on future projects. They have no idea to keep track of things that are going out of print, which is where we come in and vote for stuff. So this is the DC Comics out of print, Omnis, and Absolute reprint poll. I will again share the link in the description of the video, and I will let you know when to refresh this video to go ahead and start voting. Taylor?
In this first slide that we'll see here are the results of last year. We'll see the top 20 votes. The top 20 books that got voted on last year and whether or not they got reprinted in the last year. Because Omar sent the top 20 to DC, and this is when his contact with DC was in a vague area, vague state. So he wasn't quite sure if they're going to throw away the email or listen to it or follow it.
My contact at DC does a lot of PR stuff. The contact that I sent it to is the editor that's in charge of all of the collected editions. So she said she was going to show it to the right people, and then she said thank you, and that's where that ended.
And we think that they did show it to the right people because we had quite a few. I think we're at 55% of the top 20 last year got reprinted.
So here are the books that you all voted for last year, and some of them have been already announced to come out back to print, and some of them are in the solicits and catalog.
Oh, there might be an error. Did Nightfall Volume 3 they got a reprint, right? Or announcement at least?
Yeah, I got an announcement.
Okay, so that should say reprint on that one too. So that puts us at 60%.
No reprint yet, not physical.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry.
Like Batman by Neil Adams.
No, wasn't that solicited and then pulled?
No, it was never solicited. It was in the catalog.
Okay.
And then they pulled it, and then they were saying that they heard a lot of the complaints about the colors. Okay. So rumors are that perhaps they're going to do new colors.
They heard Jess's screams 3,000 miles away.
And I just want to make it known that Jose Villarrubia himself pitched an Absolute edition with faithful recoloring restoration from him for the Neil Adams Batman work, and I kind of hope that DC goes that route.
Okay.
He said it publicly. He pitched it to them. So,
okay.
He's the gentleman that did the recoloring on Absolute Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson.
And he's doing all the Richard Corbin stuff over at Dark Horse.
Yeah,
and it's
these are great colors.
Great stuff.
That is still a pretty good record of putting stuff back into print. I mean, of late it has been that DC seemed to wake up one morning and remember that they were a publisher and started cranking stuff out again. It's really great.
Right.
They in the past we've seen a huge amount of reprints when they play the game of catching up.
Yeah.
So in the past, in 2022 and 2023, and actually going back to 2020, it was like one reprint a month they were doing and one reprint every other month with no new Omnis. So it was kind of like their way of catching up. Once they got caught up with like all the work that needed to go into the restoration or mapping or whatever it is in collected editions, then they were like, okay, we need to slow down the reprint and bring out, the new titles. But it is really cool to see them go through this. So what's missing so far is JLA Avengers, which of course we will still always push for. Batman by Neil Adams, and I gave that little bit about that. New Teen Titans Volume 2. We got a reprint of Volume 1, and then you also voted for Omni Volume 3. Deathstroke by Christopher Priest. Wonder Woman by George Perez Volume 2. Again, one that we got a reprint of Volume 1, no Volume 2. Absolute Day Tripper, which is a masterpiece. Justice League, the Detroit era. That's one of my personal ones that I need. And that's it. I mean, everything else is either coming out or has been reprinted, which is really freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. And but like I said, this list is going to look a lot different next year. I have a feeling that they're going to focus less on this and start. I mean, they're playing the catch-up game right now. They're putting out stuff that we have been asking for decades. And it probably will impact the amount of reprints that they have coming out. Not to say they're going to get rid of them. I just think it's not going to be like all the big bangers, right? So maybe we'll help influence them in the right way.
And a few of these are coming out as DC Finest. I mean, half of Justice League Detroit's coming out as DC Finest, and New Teen Titans Omnibus 3. Some of that came out as DC Finest. So, some of it's slipping back into print and soft cover.
It'll be interesting to see how this year's list ends up, though, with 11 of these, or 12 of these being knocked off the list. Only 8 of them maybe will remain in the top 20, but regardless, we're going to at least see 12 new finalists in the top 20.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to go ahead and officially remind you all to hit that like button, please.
And I separated the slideshow here, too, I separated the absolutes from the omnibuses. So first we'll see all the absolute editions, and then we'll see all the omnibus.
So they are reprinting Absolute Crisis on Infinite Earths in March of next year. It's in the solicits.
Yep.
Again, with new colors and new restoration.
Yes, we
don't know what that means yet.
No, they are touting hard that it will be like recolored, and I was like, well, that'll give the fans something to argue about until the fall of Western civilization. We were discussing that the coloring seems to have been taken maybe from some original scans, so maybe it'll be done in a responsible way, but I'm sure it will be controversial.
Oh, anytime you go into restoration and recolor, there's always arguments, right?
All of that said, that's an instant buy for me.
People prefer matte paper. People prefer newsprint. People prefer glossy paper stock. They don't want their colors retouched. They want the colors retouched. They want the colors like using the, I guess the computer graphic colors of like how do I put this? Like in the 90s when they were using color separation by computer, I think some people are middle of the road with that. They're like, okay, they can do that, just don't fix the colors because this.
Have you ever heard anybody advocate for a full-on modernization recoloring?
Yeah.
I've never encountered anybody on that side of the argument.
Absolutely. Look at for example, damn it, what is that called? X-Men 2.0, right? That's like people were like, this is the kind of stuff we need in Omni format. And I think it just costs too much money for them to put it in Omni format. Like I love Jose Rosas. I think he was one of my favorite colorists, but the color that added another, I don't know. It just modernized Jim Lee's artwork by so much. It's really cool. It's really cool. Like, and everybody wants something different, right? Everybody wants something different.
I mean, I don't recall the coloring from the first Crisis Absolute to be inadequate. But
I think it's the scans they had issues with. So I think in order to do that
could be.
you have to actually fix the colors. I don't know what they're going to do though. So we've yet to find out.
I assume since they're using the original scans, they'll have like a lot of the line work itself will be a lot crisper.
Probably.
I mean, they could go the way of Absolute Swamp Thing by Alan Moore or Absolute Swamp Thing by Len Wein. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, the Batman Absolutes. We got a lot of these coming back out to print, which is
we did. So this slide got a lot shorter this year.
So Absolute Batman Incorporated, Black Mirror, which I know is one that I'm surprised that didn't make it in our top 20 last year. Haunted Knight, Batman and Robin, Batman Reborn. Hold on, I need to check on
Haunted Knight. Is that the Loeb Sale one?
Yeah, that's the one that kicks it off. I thought that was coming back.
That is coming out.
Okay. Dang it. Let's strike one for me.
And then it's okay. I just want to make sure if it's on here, it's not in the place where in let me make
it might not be. That might be my mess up.
It's okay. Hold on.
They're getting
yourself up.
Yeah.
Leave that to me and Lars. Don't beat yourself up.
Okay.
That is Dark Victory coming out before Long Halloween.
Okay. Woo. Yeah. Okay. It's off where people need a vote, so it's not there. Batman and Robin, Batman Reborn, and Absolute Superman Batman Volume 1 and 2 officially out of print. So when you get to voting, you will not see the Haunted Knight there for you to vote.
Yeah.
I thought the Black Mirror reprint was announced.
I think so.
Actually, I need to double check that too. Because I had Dom and I checked it, and we removed things off the list.
That is one thing we're asking. We're trying to crowdsource from the chat tonight. Well, Omar's looking that up. If there's any errors on the slideshow, let us know, and then we can update the poll before it goes live and fix whatever we need to.
Yeah, I don't recall that one being on the list, but maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't know if it was in the catalog. I could have sworn I saw it too, but we triple checked it. Then again, him and I were working late one night, so I can always take it out. Let me know in the comments if that did have a deluxe edition recently. Yeah. Black Mirror dropped a deluxe not too long ago.
Okay, so not that they wouldn't do a deluxe and an absolute reprint at the same time, but typically they don't.
There's an error on your face. Wow, you can blame your mom for sitting on it.
People have called my face an error for a long time. Black Mirror, as we kind of tried before, that is the Batman story that disturbs me the most because it deals with psychopaths and it's too close to real life. It is really
the one that a lot of people are like, why isn't this in the Scott Snyder Omni? And that's because it's a different type of story, right? This is during the time when Dick Grayson is Batman.
Yeah, it's kind of a precursor to the Snyder.
Okay, so no Black Mirror. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you, Bruce. Black Mirror is not on Dom's website, which is comicreleases.com. All right, we are moving on to Green Lantern, Green Arrow Absolutes. Absolute Green Arrow. Which one is that?
I think it's the Kevin Smith one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Green Arrow, Green Lantern. Yeah. And then Absolute Green Lantern Rebirth and Absolute Blackest Night. We did get a reprint of Sinestro Corps. So
yes.
Yep, they got knocked off the list too.
And those are only 4.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous Absolutes.
So these are characters or events that I don't know. I didn't make its own slide for it. But yeah,
the Danger Girl, that's I don't know if they can reprint it. There's a whole licensing thing with that, but we still put it there.
I mean, the same thing with JLA Avengers, though. You know. So.
No, well, that's different. This is more of Jeffrey Scott Campbell can take it wherever he wants to type of.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
it's more of perhaps they can't. And we did remove like Absolute Scarlet because that's definitely
we did do that. Yeah, you're right.
He took that over to Dark Horse.
You're right.
Danger Girl would be cool. Danger Girl is one of my most wanted as well.
And I guess Absolute Transmetropolitan Volume 3, we're reliant on that restock if we're hopeful that will be enough that some people can actually buy it.
Channel sponsor Cheap Graphic Novels has the restock available, saying you can pre-order it, and it says it's August for that restock.
Yeah, no, they did it down. So okay. Yeah. We'll see how widely available it is, but yeah.
I know.
How long stocks last? That's really what I mean. How long do stocks last? But yeah.
Right. I missed out on that reprint that came out. It came and went, so I have to jump on this next one.
Yeah.
Final Crisis is back out of print right now from the distribution level. Again, you
Already
can see
gone.
if you can see it on Amazon, you can see it on In-Stock Trades or wherever you shop. That's all that's left. How will this affect Marvel's Blood Hunt? It won't at all. I'm so sorry. What was that?
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore Absolutes. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Volume 2, and the Black Dossier. Dossier.
Dossier.
That's it.
Dossier.
We did get a reprint of Absolute Promethea Book 1,
Yes.
but Book 2 and 3.
No, 2.
I need to check. Hold on a second. I need to check on Absolute Promethea Book 2. I think that one actually got solicited.
2 is up for like February or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me double check that it's not on the list.
That was on the list. So that's not a strike on my part.
That
At least I think it was.
Promethea 3. And just to make sure it's not on here so people can vote. Promethea 3 is in here, but I don't see 2. Okay. Regardless, it's not on there. And then Absolute Top 10. Absolute Top 10 has only been printed one time, and it is a phenomenal story. I love that's one of my favorite Alan Moore stories. I wish when they reprinted, they would include the extra stories that were in the compendium.
That'd be cool.
Be awesome. But we shall.
Then we need a Tom Strong.
Absolute Promethea 2 will be out January 20th.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you. Okay.
So that might actually be on the poll then.
I'm looking for it. I don't see it.
Oh, well then maybe that is a strike on me. Dang it.
Stop striking yourself. Leave that for me and well, what's your name? Lars. Sorry, Lars. Almost forgot your name.
Absolute Top 10 gets my vote as one of those that, bigger's not always better, but for Gene Ha's art, absolutely. It's a stunning piece.
Yeah, I would say across the board, this whole slide, same thing. Like Kevin O'Neill's artwork is brilliant.
Oh,
and then J.H. Williams.
Take it to convention. I've taken to conventions, got Gene Ha to doodle in my copy, and he's always happy to do that because it's a great book.
Doodle in your copy.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to Batman Omnis.
So that's all the absolutes. We're done with the absolutes.
Wow, man, we have gotten so many absolutes back.
And there are 2 slides of Batman omnibuses.
Okay. So the first one here is the Golden Age, 3 through 10. And then Batman and Superman and World's Finest Silver Age Omni Volumes 1 and 2. They have a tendency to keep the newer, like modern Batman stories that are in Omni format in print. More so than these older stories.
This is tricky because, of course, the later volumes are out of print. They're going for crazy money on eBay. And, will DC ever get around to reprinting Golden Age Omnibus Volume 7? Or Volume
I don't know.
8?
I mean, we have Volume 2 being either on the way or has been reprinted. I can't remember.
Yeah, the early ones will get reprinted.
So it seems like they're slowly going through them. But like Lars said, I don't know if they'll ever get to Volume 7, 8, 9, 10.
I don't know.
Unless you guys make your voices heard and vote.
Yeah.
And let's see. The Absolute does not have the full top 10. No, it is different than the compendium. The compendium has a lot more. It's got other stories. What's better? The better Jim Lee's Superman story for tomorrow or Superman Unchained? I would say Unchained if I had to choose. That's just my choice. They're both equally not as good. Just being honest. Yeah,
They're both art books.
It is a race to the bottom. Yes.
Well, I just wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
All right, but some people like it.
Yeah.
Some people like it. There's way too many deluxes, though. That there is. And they
are there really though? I mean, I there's constantly stuff I'm craving in deluxes and that aren't available.
But maybe next year we can add deluxes to this.
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea because they have been reprinting them, especially like we talked about earlier, the Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. The Curse is coming out too. The reprint of that. So
the big one that's coming out is the Demon trilogy.
That one too.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman Brave and the Bold volumes 1, 2, and 3 from the Bronze Age. Right. Batman by Neil Adams, which was voted in our top 20 last. Oh, Batman Black and White is out of print. that the compendium is coming out of that, and it actually has more stories.
Okay.
Yeah, because they revisited it after the omnibus. But I think Neil Adams and Black and White are the most modern Batman omnibuses out of print, which is wild.
It surprises me that Black and White is out of print. But then again, not Arkham Asylum, the Arkham stories, those were out of print for a long time. Wait, Batman Year 2 is out of print? I'll sneak that in here. Hush. Hold on, I'm thinking. Hush had a standard size hardcover to celebrate the anniversary that had the 3 additional pages. It had 2 standard size hardcovers. Did it ever get a deluxe treatment?
I don't know.
Got an unwrapped deluxe treatment.
Got that omnibus recently, right?
Did. I'm sure it did. Batgirl, take it away.
These are the Bat Family.
Oh, Bat Family.
Omnibuses.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
sorry. You want to take it away?
Yeah, go ahead. Take it.
Okay.
Take it
We got Batgirl Bronze Age 1 and 2. Those were both on the last year's poll. Batgirl's Returns is a new entry to this year. Batwoman by J.H. Williams. I think that one went out of print quite fast after it came out the first time. And then Harley Quinn 1 through 3 were all on the poll last year, as well as Joker. So I think the only one new to this slide from that was not on last year's Batgirl Returns.
Oh, Batgirl Returns is out of print again? Dang. Okay.
Yeah, according
Wow.
to the list I was given, at least.
Oh, right. The list that we checked.
Harley
Wow.
Quinn by Connor Palmiotti, I would think would do pretty well if they
All
were
3 are out of print, which is just
Yeah,
crazy.
that is odd.
I feel like Harley Quinn, very much like Deadpool, who she gets compared to a lot. Like they both had this huge renaissance of like omnibuses and collected editions and popularity. And I feel like they're both waning in popularity since, because we saw that on the Deadpool out of print Marvel omnibuses. There's so many of Deadpool out of print right now, but they don't really get voted on.
Yeah, they didn't make it to the they
Yeah.
didn't make it to the top
There's not,
20.
there's not as many Harley collections, and Connor and Palmiotti are kind of,
Plus, she's having the crossover with who is it? Dynamite. Is it?
It's not Elvira, is it? It's
It could be Elvira.
Maybe.
I don't. It's either Elvira or Vampirella, one of the characters.
If only Jess was here too, let us know.
Oh, I'm sure he's excited. And then Joker to Bronze Age.
No, it is Elvira. No, it is Elvira.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that one's been out of print for a while.
Which
as
be
well.
drawn by Amanda. That should be good. That should be really good.
Who did a lot of the work here for these 3, especially in that first Omni.
Yeah.
And if you've not read Batman by J.H. Williams, oh my gosh, or Batwoman by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams, it's freaking awesome, especially the Greg Rucka Detective Comics. That stuff is amazing. DC Universe Omnis. Whoops. Go back to that. There you go. So we got DC Universe Rebirth Omni. Taylor, will you explain to people what that is?
The DC Rebirth Omnibus so Rebirth was what came after New 52, and as a kickoff, Jeff Johns had a really great, they can release it in deluxe edition, really great entry or introduction to the Rebirth era.
Mhm.
And then I believe this includes, is it the first issue or first couple issues of each series?
It's the first issue of every series. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you have that Rebirth event, which is a really great issue, but then you get the first issue of each new Rebirth series, which kind of like the Marvel Now Omnibus. It's an introduction to the era, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. All these omnibuses on this list didn't do very well in the poll last year.
They're very odd. I mean,
yeah, they are.
If this is what people want, that's great. I mean, personally, I don't want to pay like 150 retail or whatever it is for a collection of issue 1s or a collection of issue 0s. And I suspect there's a lot of people who don't favor that either, which is there's probably reasons they didn't poll very high. But that's what people want now. Then
It is a very weird reading experience because all of them kind of end on like cliffhangers to launch the new character and things. So like,
yeah.
It's constantly teasing you like 52 times or however many issues are in the omnibus that you're reading. It's like, oh, that's really cool. What happens next? Oh, okay. Now
I don't think it would be satisfying to read because it's basically a giant sampler pack, but it costs $150 or whatever.
Right.
Marvel did the same thing with like Marvel's 80s first, 90s first. They did the same thing with what was it? The
Marvel Now.
Yeah, the Marvel Now era, which is what that New 52 is. The only one here that I actually dug was the Villains Omni. The first printing had that lenticular dust jacket cover.
Right.
So some of those stories have not been printed in either trades nor in Omnis, but it's not worth getting the whole thing. 5 years later, yeah. So the Deathstroke Omnis, which I think there's only 2. Yeah,
yes, because we got the 3rd Deathstroke Omnibus this year. It's just came out,
which is one of the best ones too. Although the Christopher Priest Omni was solid because no one wanted to touch that character. No, like most writers wanted to stay away from that character.
And Christopher Priest took it and did it kind of like the Black Panther.
Dude, it was so awesome.
It, like where he like really like went in depth with it.
And it's a big Omni too. Now that new 52 Omni isn't the whole thing.
Okay.
I don't think it collects the Rob Liefeld stuff. That's the Kyle Higgins stuff.
Was that listed as a volume 1 on the actual book itself?
No, because I think it took place after the Liefeld stuff. The Liefeld and Tony Daniel. I can't remember. No, Tony Daniel drew this stuff that Kyle Higgins wrote. Yeah. And the Christopher Priest one is an excellent read.
It really is. It's. I'm not a Deathstroke fan. This is one of my favorite things ever. Because it's oddly patterned on the idea that, Deathstroke is one of the world's deadliest people, and he actually loves his children, but he is incapable of telling them this or showing them this. And so the insane lengths he will go to spend time with his children, of whom he is incapable of expressing affection, is really quite a clever trick.
Yeah, and that one finished in the top 20 last year, so
yeah.
We'll see if it ends up there again.
It's great stuff. I can see why it's maybe not top of DC's priority list, but it's great stuff.
The Doom Patrol Omnis, which we've had a lot of love for Doom Patrol.
I know. Yeah. So we only have 2 on this list. The Silver Age one was on last year's list. Yeah. That just got a reprint.
Yep.
I'm a huge Doom Patrol fan. Doom Patrol Bronze Age is so like Silver Age is like weirdness stuff that's like what Grant Morrison was really hearkening when they were working on their run, was that Silver Age era. Bronze Age is a little bit more back to basic superhero kind of stuff. You do have some early Eric Larson work in there, which is fun to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads off. It takes place directly after or up to Grant Morrison's run, which is kind of a weird juxtaposition of eras. And the John Byrne one was probably one of my most disappointing omnibus reads.
Wow,
it's like John Byrne. You got Terry Austin on inks for some issues. Chris Claremont's in there for some. It's like the holy trinity of X-Men working on Doom Patrol, which is kind of similar to X-Men. At least their origins are. But he really just made that one really back to basic superheroes. It's not the weird superheroes that I love about Doom Patrol. The thing I love about Doom Patrol is that they're weird, strange, almost unheroes. Like they're not really superheroes like your traditional sense. But John Byrne kind of went that way. Yeah.
Byrne is beyond the zenith of his powers at that point.
It
is. However, I will say that we were talking about how Doom Patrol and some other titles are kind of indicative of that. It's now 2025, and like very shortly, all of Doom Patrol might be collected. Because the Keith Giffen one, which I'll be buying, comes out in I think January.
I can't wait for that book.
No, absolutely no, terrific. And then you basically have you have the John Arcudi run.
Yeah, that's it.
And then that's it. But you wonder if there's other ones like very quickly, all of Daredevil might be out collected. I mean, this is going to be a very good problem to have moving forward. It's like, well, we have it.
Oh yeah, the Young Animal run, strangely. DC put it into a deluxe edition. It's almost as thick as like a smaller omnibus, but they put it into a deluxe edition and left out the Milk Wars, which was mind-boggling. So
you're right.
Not an omnibus for it. It's called a deluxe edition. No. It's almost the same thickness as an omnibus, but I feel like they could still come out with an omnibus and put Milk Wars in there and fix that problem.
I mean, you're right. I sort of
in our most wanted DC poll when we kicked it off. Milk Wars was also not available in deluxe edition. It was only available in trade.
Yeah, I have my Milk Wars trade paperback sitting next to my Gerard Way Doom Patrol omnibus.
You're right. You're right, Taylor. I sort of count that deluxe, in terms of like whether it's all been collected or not, but Jesus God, almost all of Doom Patrol's collected.
Which is amazing for Doom Patrol fans like me. Like I'm so stoked that we have
there wasn't that many volumes of Doom Patrol if you think about it.
Part of that's because it's not It's a choppy publishing history. That's true.
But it's still really cool for an obscure group of characters.
Yes, but again, you realize like I think we realized that Daredevil's not a million miles away from all being collected.
We still need some of the earlier volumes and then a lot of the 90s stuff.
We do, but you can start to see the whole puzzle is the thing. So yeah.
Yeah, Thor's up there too. Thor's pretty close.
Yeah.
Like all of modern Thor's done. We just need some of the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need the stuff before. We need the DeFalco stuff, which is some of my most wanted. Flash. So what is out of print is the Silver Age Flash.
There we go.
John,
Flash,
Mark Waid, all that stuff is still in print.
Flash is a character that's been well collected in Omnibus. These 3 volumes, obviously, I'm like the resident Silver Age, Golden Age fan. I love these omnibuses. I put these up there with any of Marvel Silver Age era stuff. They're so fun. But yeah, I think Volume 1 got a recent reprint, didn't it? Like fairly recent, like in the last year or two.
Yeah.
I know Green Lantern did.
Yeah, so I think Flash Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1 has been printed at least 3 times because they have like the weird dust jacket that I have for the first one, and then I think they printed it twice after that. But all of these are great.
The last printing looks like it was in 2018.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more recent than that.
All right.
And that's the one with the new dust jacket design.
Yeah.
That I think when they reprint these, that it still has like that new dust jacket designs. I'm surprised we don't have any more Flash to wrap up the Silver Age, because they've been doing such a good job of wrapping up. Well, getting there, Batman, Golden Age, and stuff.
Well, maybe Batman sells better.
That was Taylor that said that, not Omar.
No, if I were to rank them, I'd say FF and Spider-Man are above this, but I'd put Flash just below those 2. It's really, really good. You have Carmine Infantino on artwork, and you have all the great Rogues Gallery of Flash introduced, which the Flash Rogues Gallery I would put up there with like Batman and Spider-Man as far as like best Rogues Galleries. No, Lobo has not got an omnibus. He had a great compendium, which I absolutely love and adore. But we need a Lobo Omnibus. I don't know how you'd say that.
That's all there is for Lobo was the compendium, unfortunately. And even that was missing a couple of issues I think I would have liked to have seen added. But
that compendium is great, though.
And no DC Finest pulled this year because everything is in print.
Right.
Flash Omnis, which we went through, and now we need to go to the DC Horror Omnis, which some of these are being reprinted. Or I'm sorry, one so far. But we need the Bronze Age of House of Mystery, Volume 2, House of Secrets, Bronze Age 1 and 2, House of Secrets Omni, which is the Vertigo era of House of Secrets. Was it Siegel that wrote that one?
Siegel wrote just plain old House of Secrets.
Yeah, that's like
and then something.
Although that's the one with the mapping that infuriates me because they put the stories in chronological order, which just is profusely stupid. They could actually, I would love to re-release it in just chronological order. Publication order. That'd be really good.
You'd rather read it in publication order?
Yes, because
but the House of Secrets?
Because it makes more sense that way. It makes more sense that way. They start tinkering around with things, and it's like you're not improving it. You're not improving it. Just leave it the way it is.
I've heard that Omnibus is great, but I've not heard the complaint. Is it the reading experience is better, you think, in publication order?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because weirdly there are some links to even like a story that you think, well, this is in the past. The links get off and the references get off. And it's like, just put it the way it came out. It's like C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia. Just publish it the way it came out. It's fine. So
it's like trying to watch a prequel before you ever see like the next one. The prequel's intended to watch after the fact.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Yeah,
I mean, whomever suggested that the Magician's Nephew should go as book 1 should just be taken out and flogged. Not that
like Star Wars. Like the proper way to watch Star Wars for the first time would be episodes 4, 5, and 6 first.
I would think so. There's a little bit of a different debate there, but yeah, I mean, I would think 4, 5, and 6 first. But.
I am of a different mindset. I think when it comes to these big books, I think they just need to be put into a proper reading order, because publication order to me defeats the purpose of having these collected in a big format. To me, like, there needs to be some thought put into it. Now, if what you're saying is true, publication order makes for a better reading experience, since that's what I would want out of House of Secrets. But not every book, benefits from having a publication order.
Have you read that?
I suppose it's a case-by-case basis.
I've read this one time and I don't remember. Like,
you read it as the omnibus though?
Yeah, I only read it in Omni format.
Nah, they tried to put it in chronological order, and it doesn't really work if you try to put it in chronological order. So,
Flashpoint Omni was publication order. Yes, Flashpoint Omni was the publication order, and most of Night Terrors is in publication order. The Swamp Thing, the Bronze Age, which we haven't talked about, that is the classic stuff, the Lanween and Burning Rights and stuff. So it's the original stuff that has printing in an absolute format, but this takes you further than that absolute format.
Yeah, I've read that, and I'll say that I would recommend, especially if you're wanting like what was Swamp Thing like before Alan Moore, I would just get the Lanween Burning Rights in Absolute Edition, because that's the best of that era, and the coloring is way better in that Absolute than it was in the Omnibus. But yeah, the Omnibus does include like 20 more issues, but that's like more of like Swamp Thing Monster of the Week kind of stuff, and it's okay. They're good. They're okay comics, but they're not the best. If you're just wanting a pre-Alan Moore Swamp Thing stuff, just get the Absolute.
Started paying for YouTube Premium because ads were too long, but I failed to realize Omar's video intros are longer. Which ones?
That countdown is amazing, though. You can't touch it.
Oh, that's for the people that don't pay for YouTube Premium, because if they were to jump in, it kicks off with an ad. I have no control what YouTube puts out there. They have made it absolutely horrible for you to now put ads where you want them. It's up to them now. It's up to YouTube on where they put ads, and
they say they know better than us.
Let's face it, it's an AI system that puts ads wherever they want.
Well, quite. I pay for YouTube Premium, and I never see ads on your channel.
No, he's talking about the intro. The intro.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, okay.
Yeah. I will say, I noticed that YouTube, if you have chapter breaks on your videos when you're making them, it seems like they're sliding into the ads right in the chapter breaks that you make. I've noticed that in my videos, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I stopped worrying about it as soon as they sent.
I don't fiddle with it. I just let them do whatever. But
last November, I was like, well, I'm out. They can do whatever the hell they want to, because it's taking me too much time to try to go in there and move things around. And then that ad, it has to be approved by it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. I just don't fight that battle.
Swamp Thing was transferred temporarily to Challengers of the Unknown. Having read them in Deadman, I can strongly say skip those books. Just get the original creators.
Yeah.
American Vampire, that tends to sell very, very well.
I can't believe it's out of print again. Volume 1 came back to print just a couple of years ago when Volume 2 was announced.
I think it sells very, very well. Yeah.
I mean, they did put it in the compact size, so obviously they have confidence in it sells.
And they're reprinting the TPBs as well. So
yeah, I'm sure it'll come back to print. I mean, it's a big name at DC,
and also
Sean Gordon Murphy,
and the Stephen King guy.
Yeah, they throw the Stephen King on there too.
We have high hopes.
Yeah, we were talking about that when we were doing me, Jess, and Dom. For some reason, they took his name off of the books in book 2.
Is that like an indication that Scott Snyder has now surpassed Stephen King?
Yeah,
maybe at DC. No, it's a thing that it's a thing that they do, like past issue, because remember he was only involved with like the first 6 issues.
He was only that much
signing off, like, yeah, that sounds good. Whatever, kid, have fun. I'm sure it was more like that. All right, let's continue with the Jack Kirby Omnis. Fun fact: the biggest YouTuber earns more than the YouTube CEO. Not me. Far from that guy.
You're not the biggest YouTuber?
No.
Shocking.
Man D, the last one by Jack Kirby.
3 Jack Kirby omnibuses. The Fourth World one got reprinted, so we don't need that anymore. But Commandy, and then the DC Universe Bronze Age, which has a lot of awesome series by Jack Kirby. So Jack Kirby did the Fourth World in the 70s, and then he did Commandy. And then when DC broke his heart and said no more Fourth World, he started doing all his other cool series like OMAC, The Demon. Those are all of those entire runs from Jack Kirby are put into the Bronze Age book, as well as like the Losers is thrown in there too. It's a really great collection if you're into Jack Kirby stuff. And Jack Kirby in the 70s is like the best decade of his career.
I love Command D, and I'm not my DC to me has always started post Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I made an exception to go back and reread these because I really like the concept of Jack Kirby going, F you, I can't do Planet of the Apes. Watch this. And I thought it was a great story, and I hope they continue it in Omni format. I know the trade paperback came out or is coming out that follows up what happens after Jack Kirby leaves the book.
They are doing it.
One is the one that I had the hard, like, I will admit, Fourth World is hard to get into at first, especially with those Jimmy Olsen issues. But once it gets going, it gets going. Bronze Age, some of those are very hit and miss too. I did like the Demon. And OMAC Project was up and down, or the OMAC, sorry, not the OMAC.
OMAC is amazing. I love OMAC.
It ended kind of early.
OMAC, it's only 8 issues, but they should have made OMAC a Saturday morning cartoon. That is ripe for good Saturday morning cartoons. Like, it's so fun.
Couple things, Omar. Yeah, you and I are uncannily on the same page because I am not necessarily the biggest Kirby.
Never happens.
Yeah, I know it doesn't. I'm not necessarily the biggest Kirby enthusiast either, but I read all of Commandy and I really enjoyed Commandy.
Yeah,
it was very, very good. And I like the Demon too, as you say. Those are two that stuck out for me. Sometimes we're talking about OMAC. It has always baffled me that OMAC by John Byrne has been in print in like
it had those
John Byrne.
Old trade paperbacks. Hey, Richard, thank you so much. I think Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison's out of print. I will check into that. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring your comments.
That one, though, tends to come back into print fast.
Yeah, that one comes in and out of print. DC does a lot of weird, like, sneaky reprints, too. And one indicator of that is I bought the Planetary Omnibus just, like, last year. And I looked in it, and it said, like, 11th printing on the inside of the Indicia. And we never heard 10 announcements that it was being reprinted. I think they just do sneaky, like, reprints like that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done the Green Arrow stuff.
Yeah, I have the standard size hardcover for that. But they never printed an omnibus. Like
the Justice League Omnis. The Silver Age 1 and 2, Bronze Age 1, 2, and 3. The Detroit era, which is one that I kind of want back now. I used to have that one. I used to have Bronze Age 1. I got rid of it. And then I picked up 3 because it had Jim Apparel's artwork. And I was like, well, now I got to go and find 1 and 2. International Omni Volume.
That's an odd one. They usually keep that one.
Well, that one went out of print before. That one's been out of print before, along with Volume 2.
And again, they probably just reprinted it pretty prevalently.
If they reprinted it, would be the 3rd printing. And then the Dark Side War Saga, which if you have the Jeff Johns 1 and 2 Omni, it collects this. But if you're an event guy and you're like, oh, I just want this for some reason, then I guess vote for it.
I will say the JLI Volume 1, like you just said, it got reprinted recently, but it does seem like James Gunn is veering off into pretty much a JLI inspired DC universe in the movies. So I would not be shocked if that gets a little bit of a priority, since James Gunn, he at least has the ear of Jim Lee on what they print and things like that. So I wouldn't be shocked by that. I do have a question on the Detroit era though. I love JLI. It's a Detroit era, which takes place right before that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's stuff that takes place before Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I know it's a different creative team, but what's the quality like before JLI?
Significantly less.
Okay.
And it's not as good. It's not as fun. It's not.
I love JLI. It's one of my favorite runs ever.
Who's on that team? Like Steel, Vixen,
Vibe.
I forgot about that dude.
Gypsy, Martian Manhunter.
That sounds awesome. I love obscure, weird superheroes too. On
it's what was happening was that Jerry Conway was running Justice League, and he observed that the success of New Teen Titans and X-Men and Legion, that they were doing very, very well with their own characters and charting their own course. And so he thought, well, let's shake it up, get rid of some of the established characters that I can't do anything with, and kind of bring in kind of these second stringers that I could develop. So it was good in concept. It just in implementation doesn't really get where it needs to be. I
do love wacky team ups with like obscure C&D listers though. So
yeah, all of that said, I might actually get the DC Finest collection and kind of re-examine it. Luke McDonald's art is pretty good, pretty strong. I do like it. Omar, why'd you get rid of your copy?
What's that?
Why'd you get rid of your copy?
He hates Detroit.
Because I had to make room for books that I set the rule of like, hey, no DC books. Because I tried. I had like Golden Age, Superman 1 and 2, Batman Golden Age, Wonder Woman Golden Age. a couple of volumes of each, and I realized the more I try to read them, they just weren't for me. I had a few of the Silver Age stuff. And this was years ago, before doing a channel, and I was like, I'm gonna run out of space, and I can't get everything. So everything before Crisis went, and now I kind of miss it because you're right, it's not that good, but some of the stories were pretty good, and I like the Bronze Age art. The Bronze Age Omni 3 had some stellar artwork.
Yes, absolutely. And we desperately need a Bronze Age 4, but
Omar gets rid of books. Josh, I've sent you books. What are you talking about? Justice League. Yes. Is there a possibility of a deluxe being on the poll? Maybe next year, not this year. And we would have to go. They've done a hell of a job reprinting a lot of those deluxe editions. And then we have to start making like decisions. Like, do we want to put Batman by? I think that's what kept me from doing it last year. Like deciding if we're going to put Tom King's Batman in deluxe edition.
Yeah.
People would vote on that instead of the Omni, things like that.
And then we talked about compendiums too a little bit, but
I run out of space, but every yearly tour adds another 1,000. Nope, I subtract. My daughters counted how many books, and I had just about 67 more books since the previous year, and that's because I got rid of some.
Wow.
I can't keep everything, and the things that I do keep, like if I'm double dipping on, for mainly reading orders. But I've donated a lot, and I've given a lot of stuff away too on the channel.
You make your daughters count. I mean, is this like child labor? Do you make them sweep your chimney as well?
It's like doing the math.
How much I would have loved to count comics when I was a kid.
That is true.
I was mowing the lawn.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting paid.
And you're helping them their math skills, Sesame Street style. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then they would lose count and get frustrated with each other. It was quite adorable. Oh man, the Legion of Superheroes. Okay,
well,
Lars,
there's not gonna be many of these. Yeah,
this is you, Lars.
I know. Are there any out of print?
There are.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, the Silver Age, of course.
Take it away, Lars.
5 years later, did they announce that one? No,
volume not yet.
No,
yeah, Volume 1 came back into print, and I think that's what's pushed Volume 2 going out of print.
Okay. Yes, the Silver Age ones have been out of print for quite a while. Silver Age Omnibus 2 is going for higher money on.
And that's the Jim Shooter, when Jim Shooter has like a 13-year-old's writing comics.
I think he was 14, but yes, you're right. Yeah. Again, none of these are necessarily the place I would start. Again, the most prized Legion comics are the ones that have never some of them have never properly been collected. Now, there's the Great Darkness Saga, if you're interested. There's the Curse. But tons of stuff after that has never been collected ever. But yeah.
Yes, 5 years later, I'm so sorry. Let me get this. You just bought it. Yes, it is officially out of print from the distribution.
Okay,
center.
that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I'm sure there's enough copies too for a while. Doesn't mean that places don't have like 1,000 copies of the stuff. It just means that they cannot order it anymore.
That one was in print for a really long time, and I think it was because Volume 1 was out of print, so people weren't buying it because they didn't have Volume 1. I think once Volume 1 came back into print, all those people picked up Volume 2.
Yeah.
Before the Darkness, I'm surprised I haven't done that. So, but you know what?
We have standard size hardcovers of those.
DC's a different beast these days.
Oh, I do have it over there.
Oh, the Legion of Superheroes Silver Age Volume 2 is on eBay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, it's insane.
Right. Yeah.
I hate
it also has some seminal stories in there, like Death of Pharaoh Lad and things like that. So
I love the Silver Age of Legion.
Hate you, Omar, for your overviews. Oh my goodness.
Because he bought the Silver Surfer Return to Spaceways. It was a great book. Oh, thank you, Gabriel. Hey, Jenna, how are you? And we are going over books that need to be reprinted, not new books. That will be at another time. I do believe that Peter and I have set because this poll will end on, let me double check. I've got this written down. This poll will end on May 27th at 8 p.m. And I hope to announce everything by either that Thursday or Sunday or Friday. My summer schedule is getting crazy with everybody going to graduations and different things. And then that means we hope to kick off the DC Most Wanted poll on June 3rd. I think it's when we're looking at. That's the one that you want to see.
A Tuesday?
That is a Tuesday, yeah.
Okay.
I'll double check and then make sure that everybody gets the word out. But I want to make sure with Peter, because I know he's working on it, and a bunch of other mappers. Let's move on to the miscellaneous with Adam Strange, Green Arrow, the Golden Age, Suicide Squad, Silver Age, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Orion by Walter Simonson, Omni. Just Imagine Stan Lee creating the DC Universe, League of... Oh, that's right. League did have the Jubilee edition. That wasn't Omni.
I think I have that one.
Sleeper Omni, which came back to print a few years ago. And yes, we even put the DC versus Marvel amalgam on here because, who knows? Probably can't happen again, but who knows?
If they hear enough support, maybe they'll fight for it again. There's some good stuff on here and some not so great stuff on here.
Didn't they not swear that amalgam would never be reprinted?
Yes, but look how, I don't know, the Rolling Stones swore they would never tour again.
Well, they also swore that the DC versus Marvel wouldn't be reprinted, and then they restocked it real quickly. So,
well, the restock makes sense, right? That a printer can only print so many copies before they're like, look, we got to go back and print more Bibles. So that makes sense. That's why sometimes restocks happen. But DC versus Marvel amalgam didn't have a restock. Right, I know there's a whole thing why it happened and why only certain places could get it, but I'm not going to get into that. But I don't think it ever got a full restock. Okay. Pre-order amalgam 4 times and all got canceled. That sucks. It sucks that you pre-ordered it, dude. That's the worst.
Ooh. And 4 times? Was that 4 different retailers, or just one? I mean, you don't have to tell us. We don't have to bash retailers here.
Maybe it was Amazon too. And by the way, He-Man is a lot. Hey, what's up, Kenny? He-Man is a lot of fun if you've never read it. Like, if you didn't have to grow up with the cartoon, it is written like Conan the Barbarian. It's got like a lot of mature themes in there. It's so awesome. It kind of reminds me of what Kyle Higgins and Ryan Parrott and those guys did with Power Rangers.
Okay.
It matures the cartoon that you grew up with. And it's the way they remember it. It's solid. It's good stuff, man.
That was the pitch for the DreamWorks Voltron series on Netflix too. Is like, we want to create a series that it makes you like what you remember from the original series. Because when you were a kid, like, you thought Voltron's the coolest thing ever. But if you go back and watch it, maybe not so much. But they wanted you to get that same feeling of excitement you had when you first watched it. So similar thing there, yeah.
Yeah, it's solid. As much as I love the Marvel Pulse, this is my jam. I'm so ready for DC votes. Now that's what's up. Phil, how you doing, dude? I haven't seen you for a minute, man. I hope you've been doing all right. Oh, it was on Amazon. He doesn't live in the U.S. or they don't live in the U.S. Man, that sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're very limited. We're very blessed in the U.S. to have all these different outlets that we can pre-order from.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that. It's the JLA Omni with Booster Gold, a reprint or a new the new one? Is there a new J? The one we were looking at was the JLI. That does have Booster Gold in it, and that would be a reprint. It's out of print right now. Did I skip any? Nope. Okay, the Super Family Omnis with Supergirl, Silver Age 1 and 2, and Superman Golden Age 1 is out of print again. 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, and that's it.
Taylor, are you a Superman Golden Age guy?
No, I love Golden Age comics, but Superman Golden Age was not my jam. I didn't really. It's just so the fun like rogues gallery and characters that you love from like Superman doesn't really start till Silver Age. Like Golden Age Superman is very much about him like fighting like gangsters and bad guys, and it gets very repetitive. And the artwork isn't the greatest either. I'd much rather have like Captain Marvel, Shazam of that same era in omnibus format, but we've never had that. That stuff is great with Otto Bender and CC Peck.
Like the more racist storylines.
Well, okay, but the CC Peck artwork and cartooning and Otto Bender's writing is great. Yes.
I want more racism in my Golden Age comics. Superman doesn't.
Man.
I think that what's interesting is that Superman was a top seller too. Those Golden Age have a fan following.
Oh, yeah.
That and Batman are the 2 top selling Golden Age books, which I guess makes sense, right? When you think about the Holy Trinity.
Well, I mean, in the 50s, Superman was one of the few superheroes still selling well. It was Superman and Captain Marvel were the only 2 really superheroes that sold like gangbusters as far as like issue counts. When in the 50s, when superheroes were dying out and like EC Comics was like dominating stuff.
Mhm.
But Superman still held strong throughout the Golden Age as far as like popularity and sales go, in spite of all that. But it doesn't surprise me that in omnibus format that it would still have quite a following. I've read a lot of Golden Age comics, and Superman was one of my least favorite.
Lars, what about you? Have you tried Golden Age Superman? I know they just released the DC Finest. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I find it historically interesting, but not necessarily enjoyable.
Okay.
I've told the story before, though, because I grew up in the age of moral panic, and I was at a convention one time sitting next to Marv Wolfman, and he was saying that in his household, his parents too had a moral panic about the comics he was reading, which was Superman comics of the 50s, and that was just too much for them.
I mean, in the 50s, parents were freaking out about every comic, regardless of what it was.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It was Frederick Wortham, but
well, yeah, that was 1954, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the Comics Code came about.
Yeah. So no, I mean, basically the whole of the Golden Age is like that for me. It's of historical interest only. Now again, something like the Justice Society, which I'm really, really fond of, I can maybe be persuaded to go and look at it. But yeah, it's not something that
Jack Cole's Plastic Man. Those are some
again,
great comics.
it's interesting. I just don't really find it historically interesting, but not particularly enjoyable for me.
I will say Supergirl Silver Age is fun. There's a lot of Otto Bender written stuff in there. Those are some fun comics. Those kind of read as like if you're a fan of like Archie comics, but with superheroes.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Okay, Omar, is this the first time you played baseball? It's the only card I have up my sleeve, and let me tell you, it didn't get me out of a damn ticket anytime. I think I got my ass beat. Parents panicked about comics until the late 80s.
Well, and as you say, Frederick Wortham, when he was spouting his nonsense, I mean, he was worried about, that Batman and Robin were gay and Superman was a fascist and da-da-da-da. It's like, okay. But yeah, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman were his targets.
Wortham set comics back for years. I think we're just now getting to the point where comics are more than just superheroes, where we're starting to get like popularity in the mainstream, or like we have comics readers that only read like Raina Telgemeier or only read like Image comics like Walking Dead and those kinds of things. So I think we're finally getting to the point where it's not superheroes don't dominate comics the way they used to.
No, and again, if any of you were into Riverdale for a while, I still cannot believe that Riverdale season 7 basically had Frederick Wortham as one of the villains. I mean, they didn't call him.
Really?
They didn't call him Frederick Wortham, but it clearly was him. Clearly.
Oh man, I've only watched the first 2 seasons. I gotta keep watching that thing.
It was nuts.
I love that.
This is so true. Only because in the 80s they started panicking about Dungeons and Dragons and forgot about comics. Yeah, and then video games in the late 80s and 90s. Man, absolutely. Gotta point the finger at something.
Riverdale season 7, Jughead goes to work for a comic book publisher. And there's this, moral crusader who is constantly trying to shut them down, and it basically it's pretty obviously Frederick Wortham.
I've got to watch that then. That's amazing. I love
Riverdale. I watched every season of Riverdale avidly because it's one of those shows I could never predict where it was going. Never.
This is interesting.
It was like Archie meets Twin Peaks, kind of like it was.
Yes.
I will say it is very CW. I couldn't make it past that first season, but I think a lot of my viewers watched it. I know Jess loved it. I was interviewed about the appropriateness of comics by our local newspaper when I was 11 in 1994.
Well, that was like the extreme era when parents were freaking out about all the guns and the women on the pages and how they looked. And
my mother burned my entire collection when I was 16. I left home forever a month later. Wow.
There's so many stories of that.
I sold my Transformers, and that hurt. I can't imagine burning.
I don't know if you guys have read the biography of JMS, like J. Michael Straczynski. He had a rough childhood, but one of the coolest things coming out of that, like a positive spin on it, is that he told this horrific story about his dad. Like he had like a cardboard box of comics that were like his comics. That's like the only joy he had in life because his parents were horrible. But he wrote on it Joe's Comics. And he came home one day and his dad had burned them all, and it was like devastating for him. So that's why his imprint when he went to Image was called Joe's Comics, because it's like this is my new box of comics.
Smart, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's not where I thought you were going when you were like something good came out of that.
Oh, just like it's cool that he had like this cool spin on it.
His comics. Wow.
Well, not to over philosophize, but I mean, it's occurred to me that there's times in your life that are just crap, and we are legit lucky to have this hobby to just kind of carry us through and give us comfort when life is crap.
Yeah.
Mason, we were just talking about that earlier. Does Marvel have a much larger published history? Seems like DC has fewer omnis.
Weirdly, DC has the bigger publishing history, but as you say,
when it comes to collected editions, Marvel has been ahead by well over a decade with some things.
Yes,
and by that, much more aggressive.
They did the Omnis first, and then DC started doing them. When DC started doing Omnis, they were using newsprint, they were standard size, and later on they kind of caught on that, oh, people like bigger books and to pay more money for bigger books. So let's give them that.
We will give you money.
And it's crazy that it took them 10 years or almost 11 years to catch up with the Marvel Epic formula. And that's what they're doing with the DC Finest.
Yeah.
Finally, that's something that we have been wanting for years. And they finally caught up. And it's like, oh, there's a market for people that like collected editions. One of the most amazing things they did was introduce the absolute format. And I was talking to Dan Didio about that, how that came about and where they obviously they borrowed heavily from the European type of graphic novels that they were releasing there. But it was really cool where like the ideas came from for the slipcase and stuff like that. So yes, Marvel has like 30% more than DC collected editions.
It was friend of the channel, Scott Dunbier, right? That started the absolute format.
I think that's right.
Yes, he was one of the editors, and I can't remember if it was him or someone else that coined the phrase absolute. It was absolute authority, and then the next book was going to be something. The adjective was going to be the first letter of whatever it was going to be, like beautiful Batman or whatever it was going to be.
Like Batman.
Using that Stanley alliteration, Since
they fired them, they were like, we'll just keep it as absolute editions.
I think I'm right in saying that Scott was inspired by a lot of the collections he was seeing from overseas publishers that French publishers were doing things akin to the absolute editions. And he was like, oh, we should totally do this.
Beautiful books. I love them, man. I wish Marvel would do them, but they're
not cheap. I am reminded sometimes of how they're not cheap, but they're great.
Which to DC's credit, though, in the 80s, they did a really great job of introducing the collected edition for the book market. And that was Jeanette Kahn, who was the publisher of DC, and she came from the book publishing side of things when she came to DC. So like Watchmen and Ronin and Arkham Asylum, like putting those into these graphic novel formats and putting them in like fancy formats into the bookstore and things like that. That was like Jeanette Kahn in DC that started that kind of format. But then I think Marvel then took it and ran with it and kind of blew them out of the water. But
that was years though. We're looking at 2002 when the trade paperbacks and but they were trying out different things. And it's really interesting that for some reason it never caught on here, but in Europe and of course in Japan, these collections have been around for decades. It just took America that long to catch up because I think there was a market for single issues. Like people like collecting single issues. They were worried that the value was going to drop. And then, I guess.
Well, that's what makes the market different is that in Europe and in Japan, they don't have single issues. Like in Japan, it's like everything's serialized in different magazines and then put into a tankobon. And in Europe, it's
in Japan, they also throw away the magazines.
They just toss them. Yeah,
America, everything has value. So your copy of Super Pro #1 that you have, you're going to hold on to it, or the Return of Superman in a poly bag because you don't want to open it up.
Because
you're going to be able to retire with it.
Super Pro
definitely different mentality. Absolutely.
Yeah, because Super Pro #1's worth like $2 now in 2025. So you got to get your value out of that. But the European format's almost different. It's like they're the prestige of all prestige formats. The first time a book is released is in a hardcover European album.
Yeah. And Humanoids, obviously Humanoids borrowed heavily for that. Let's keep going with the Teen Titans, which we know we need quite a number of these.
2 and 3.
The Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and then the Omnis.
Ooh,
1, 2, 3. Is one out of print again?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah,
and then Teen Titans by Jeff Johns, which is a great.
I love that book. That's one of
That's one of the pivotal comics of my teen years. I was reading that one when I was a teenager, and I was religiously picking that up. And I absolutely loved it. I own the omnibus. I've not revisited it since my 10 years. I'm a little afraid to because it was so pivotal to me, but
I think
it's a great run.
It's a great. I love that book, man. It's got some awesome moments. Yeah, but that's been printed twice. New Teen Titans has been printed 3 times if you include the sky blue original colors
with bad mapping. Yeah,
and this is again one of those things that we were talking about earlier when DC was catching up to Marvel, including the mapping, including the build of these books, like how they built them, because these were bad, man. They had some glued binding, but Marvel also made some mistakes too at first, right? But yeah, DC was still kind of using that training wheels, and finally they now they're just, man, they're firing on all cylinders.
I will say Teen Titans Silver and Bronze Age are not that great. Teen Titans really gets good and kicks off with New Teen Titans Volume 1. That's George Perez and Marv Wolfman. And that's the comic that was rivaling X-Men for sales. I don't think it ever beat X-Men, but it was up there as a #1 bestseller for DC for a while.
So good.
Up there with X-Men.
I think I'm right saying Perez and Wolfman went in to pitch New Teen Titans to DC, and they were like, well, we've done this before and it hasn't gone great. And essentially they were like, yeah, but we'll do it really well, which was code for it won't suck this time.
Yeah. And then to Lars' point earlier, and like that became their formula for trying to launch a lot of teams. I know Batman and the Outsiders, they kind of launched with the same formula of like, let's have some characters that they're familiar with, and then let's introduce brand new characters to try to, raise the level of those characters as well with the characters they're familiar with. Batman and the Outsiders, which needs an omnibus, by the way, didn't hit the same note as New Teen. It's a good run. I love that run, but it's not as great as New Teen Titans.
Probably because Wolfman and Perez worked really hard to take the legacy Titans and then figure out new Titans that could really complement them very well. Yes. And so it all kind of gelled together as a team. The problem with the Outsiders, although I am fond of them, is that they sort of come across a bunch of rando superheroes who happen to be thrown in together.
Very much so. Like the relationship interactions on New Teen Titans is like they're all like exactly like you said, they're gelled together, and the outside,
they're very balanced because they were like, okay, well, we need a mystical character, so let's do Raven, and we need and this and that. Yeah, it's really good. It's interesting that if Volume 5 isn't out of print, that puppy came out like 4 years ago. And that
why would you buy a Volume 5 if you can't find Volumes 1 and 2?
Well, no, there's something of that. There's also something of that when Perez goes, the reason to buy it goes down mightily, in my view.
You're not going to be able to get all the characters on the spine.
which those are really cool designs.
And somehow I can live with that. I mean, because I own Volumes 1, 2, and 3. I own Volumes 1, 2, and 3. And I'm happy for some of the issues after that, which are after Perez goes. But yeah, it just rapidly doesn't become worth having for me.
Omar, similar to Marvel, would you consider having fans vote on one previously canceled DC Omni to the reprint list? I don't know. I'm considering adding the deluxe editions. The whole idea behind the reprint, Cody, and anybody that was asking, like, why don't we add things, is it makes it easy for them to pick and choose something that they can just reprint. Reprinting something is a file that has been completed. They can send to the printer and say, hey, get this printed on a book again. And that's it. There's not anybody that has to work on the book, right? And I don't know how far they made it. If you're talking about like New Teen Titans Volume 6, for example, or Man of Steel Omni, or all these previously DC Omnis that made it into the catalog, I don't know how far into the process like they
and sometimes they were pulled. Sometimes they were pulled for a reason. I think I was helping Peter go over. Peter was having a little bit of a paroxysm about how to organize the New Teen Titans listings for the new poll, and I was like, maybe we should stop pretending that New Teen Titans Omnibus 6 was a thing, because it wasn't a thing, and the mapping they did made no sense whatsoever. So, maybe we should map it in a way that makes sense and people might actually want to buy it.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I don't want to add more workload to them because we're already going to do the most wanted DC Omnis, right? Yeah. I kind of figured that will be the list that I show them where, hey, this is what you're wanting. Whereas this is like, hey, if you're needing a slot filled for July, this book is what people voted for, and it'd be easy for you just to send it to the printer and be like, hey, print this again.
Yep.
That's kind of where I separate the two. But I am thinking about adding deluxes next year because there are quite a number of deluxe editions that are out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was that it for New Teen Titans? I'm sorry, Taylor, you were about to say something.
I was just gonna say it's not as simple as like if they printed in standard size trade paperback, it's not as simple as them using that same file for Omnibus. They have to like stretch it out, make sure it's the right trim size and things. Like there's some work involved.
And if they don't do it properly, we get something like the Kabuki library editions, right?
Yeah,
where somebody was cutting corners and probably Friday night wanted to go out drinking with his buddies and said, "I know how to resize this." Stretch. Damn. And the end result sucked.
I'm sorry to hear that because Kabuki is gorgeous. I haven't quite gotten around to buying
is that the most recent Kabuki collection?
No, that one's been fixed.
Oh, okay.
That one's been fixed compared to the library editions. Yeah, man, that pissed a lot of people off. Wonder Woman Omnis.
And this is the last one. This is our last slide.
This is it, and then we can get some voting, everybody. Wonder Woman Golden Age 3, 4, 5. 1 came back to print. 2 still in print.
4 is already going for big money on eBay.
And 5 was a new edition this year. 5 just now went out of print in the last year.
Wow. Okay. Diana Prince celebrating the 60s Omni. Jess brags. Oh, where is he? I can't do this joke justice without him being here. Wonder Woman by George Perez, volumes 2 and 3. 1 got a reprint, but 2 and 3, much like New Teen Titans. And then, of course, the crossover with War of the Gods out of print.
Well,
but if you just want that event, that's also in the George Perez Omni Volume 3.
And again, the incentive for Perez volumes 2 and 3 is because he's only writing them. He's not.
Yeah,
drawing.
volume 2 was on our top 20 last year too. So.
Oh, quite possibly, yeah.
Volume 2 of Perez, I mean.
I know that I have a lot of people who are they're not into comics, but they like Wonder Woman, and so I gave them Perez Volume 1, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And then I give them Volume 2, and because they weren't, Perez didn't draw it, they're like, well, it wasn't quite as good. For some people, that's a problem, but yeah.
Let's see here. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern is almost, it does feel like evergreen.
It's as good as, yeah.
Somebody was asking if all of Green Lantern is still in print. They just reprinted Green Lantern Silver Age 1 and 2.
Yeah. We had a slide for it.
It was absolute that we had a slide for.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So I guess all the omnibuses are in print then.
And I think that's it. Yeah. And then everything else is still in print. Who does the art on Perez 2 and 3 then? That is a disappointment. No, Perez comes back for 2 or 3, sorry. And Phil Jimenez, like some of the early Phil Jimenez.
Yeah. No, Phil is very good. I forget, but there's some of the fill-in ones that just don't, I mean, I'm not even saying that's really bad. They're just no George Perez,
Well, there aren't many artists that are George Perez.
Well, exactly. I know.
Jill Thompson. I got you, Marcelo. Yeah, Jill Thompson. Gail Simone, Wonder Woman's already out of print, at least in the UK. Let me double check that.
Oh, you know what? I think that is on the poll.
Let me double check that because I thought we had that on the poll because I remember arguing with Dom. Like, I'm like, we just had that reprinted, and he was like, "Dude,
I think that's on the poll. I'm almost certain.
Let's see. Yeah, it's on the poll. You'll see it on the poll. It is on there. Okay, so at this moment, I'm going to show you how to vote really quick. So let me remove this and go back.
When Omar pulls this up, we'll have a link to the poll. It'll be in the description of this video. And when Omar tells you to, you can refresh the video and then you can start voting.
Correctamundo. So I just want to make sure I got this and I can show you all how to vote. It's very simple. If you voted last year, if you voted from the Marvel poll, let's rock. All right. So this is easy. It's just your email address here. Has to be a legit email address. I promise we're not going to send you anything. And then your choices. This is weighted voting again, much like the Marvel poll, where you vote for the one you want the most. You get 5 votes. Second one, third, fourth, and fifth. Take your time voting, unless you already know what you're like. Oh, I already know what I got. By all means. And then you just go all the way down to the bottom. We've simplified things a lot this year just because we have a new way of collecting the data, and that's it. And you just submit. That is it. That's all you do. That's all you vote. And if for some reason you think we left something out, let us know in the comments if you're watching this later or if you're watching this right now. Let us know. and we'll be happy to add those. And well, first of all, we got to double check that they are out of print. So I am going to put the link in the description of the video. So what I'm going to do right now is, where's that video? Okay, here we go. Now, the poll does close on Tuesday, just make sure I got this right, May 27th at 8 p.m. So next Tuesday, May 27th at 8 p.m. And there, James, what are you doing? I'm telling people to reload. How are you getting? Stop putting stuff up there. Reload this video, and you can look in the description of the video for the link. And we'll sit here for a little while to see it go live and see what people are voting for. And in case we miss something, I want to make sure I add it while we're doing this live. So 0 responses so far. Lars, what are you most looking forward to get reprinted?
I knew you were going to ask this question. Like I was so engaged with that awesome flow that I didn't stop to think. Good question.
What's a book you missed out on?
Yeah, see, I think I'm doing pretty well on the reprint because like if some of those like the Perez New Teen Titans, like I know I have them already. I don't think I'm missing out on a lot. I don't know. Taylor stall for me. What
stall for you?
Frank Miller's Ronin is my number one. Absolute Frank Miller Ronin. I love that story. I have the gallery edition, the artist edition, but I don't have it in any other format because I've been waiting for the Absolute to be reprinted. Same thing with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Volumes 2 and Black Dossier. I have the Jubilee edition, but I love League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I love that story. I love those characters, so I want that in Absolute format.
Yeah, I would tend. Yeah.
And
Cody, I deleted that one.
What's that?
Cody was saying that Masters of the Universe was there
twice.
Yeah. If you refresh it, it'll just be there once. Thank you all that are bringing it to my attention.
I think that's it. I don't know if there's any omnibuses that I'm going to vote on.
Yeah, the only one I wrote down to remind myself about was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Absolute, as you say. And I have the hardcover omnibus one, so I'm probably set on that one.
Possibly the House of Mystery, House of Secrets. I don't have those.
Yeah. Absolute Blackest Night. I could probably be convinced to buy that one.
Do you like Ivan Reyes' artwork?
I do. I think, yeah, he's very good.
I want Green Lantern Rebirth. So I really love it. I think that story is very important to me. But I'll probably also take Blackest Night. Because I was like, oh, I've got the Omni. But I really like that event. It's a great event.
Yeah.
What about you, Taylor?
I might also add the House of Mystery, House of Secret stuff. I'm a huge fan of like horror anthologies like EC Comics and Creepy and Eerie Magazine. So I haven't read a lot of that DC stuff in the same kind of horror anthology format. And then there's a lot of good like Alex Toth artwork in there and like classic artists that I enjoy. So I'd like to pick those up. I know it's like, isn't it House of Mystery Volume 1 Bronze Age that we saw in the catalog?
Yeah, that one's coming back to print. I'm curious what Dust Jacket design.
I know because the picture in the catalog, like the actual official catalog, looks like the old one.
Yeah, and they changed it up with Volume 2. So
I'm hoping
I'm thrilled with some of these, lower properties that they actually think there's still a market there for people to buy them. Because like stuff like House of Mystery or the Spectre, like
Oh, I can't wait for that reprint.
Really classic Spectre stuff. It's like, oh, they think they can still sell some copies. That's excellent. Good.
Adrian, let's see. The poll people have been answering, and it looks like we've got 40 responses so far. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. What's it look like so far? I'll do a quick little recap here in a second if I can get to it. So Orion is on the list. Somebody was asking if Orion was on the list.
I think that one got remapped. The original mapping was
yeah, I have the trade paperbacks because those are mapped better.
Simonson was saying that the mapping was wrong, and I think it got fixed for a reprint, but I'm not sure.
Not for the omnibus. It got fixed for there's two thick trades that collect that era, and those are mapped the way that Simonson wanted.
Well, then they should put out a new omnibus and remap it then.
They should, yeah.
Of which one?
Again, another example of if they'd left it in publication order, it would have been fine. But they had to get clever and they had to start putting the backup stories all together. And Walt Simonson himself had to say, no, they weren't made that way. They were made to be read as they came out.
Yeah,
he had a plan.
Right. That's the omnibus, the Orion omnibus, Omar.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're talking about. He's exactly right, because that'd be like going back to like the Jack Kirby Thor era and putting all the Tales of Asgard strips in the back of that omnibus. Like, they're meant to be kind of like a prequel backup strip, but kind of like laying the land for what you see going forward.
Yeah.
Superman Golden Age Omni's coming back this June, so I'm taking that off the list.
Which one?
There was one in here. It's the Superman Golden Age Omni Volume 1. Somebody said it was.
Oh, okay.
So that is officially off the list now.
Oh, Josh Greathouse agrees with us. He said map Orion in the publication order.
Yeah.
Is all the Flash in print but Silver Age?
Yes.
Wade, William Messer Loebs, Jeff Johns, and Josh Williams. Yeah, they're all in print.
And the New 52.
Let me fix that, Brandon. Thank you for bringing that to my attention about American Vampire. See, that's why we do it live, baby. So you all can point our flaws out.
Yes.
What were you saying?
It's
the New 52 area Flash, that's still in print too. I'm blanking on the artist. Francis Manapul, yes.
Mm-hmm. That one's still in print.
Great artwork in that run, by the way.
You're all just
yes. The Blackest Night Absolute does have a commentary that is not on there.
Yeah. You're all discovering the joys of being an editor. When you're an editor, you get to look at the work other people have done, and you just point out everything they've done wrong. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Omnibo. I appreciate that, brother. I'm not seeing the link. Can someone repost it? It's in the reload the video, Tyler. Not sure when you wrote this at 7:32, and it's in the description of the video. You should see it now. Batman and Superman World's Finest Volume 2 is being reprinted January 6th.
Okay.
Let me double check that. How did we miss that one? World's Finest. I'm gonna have to get on. Dom, him and I looked at this list. That must have been one he didn't catch. Totally not me.
It is up for January 6th.
World's Finest. That is in the solicits or in the catalog?
It's on Amazon.
Volume 2, right?
Yes.
But not Volume 1?
Volume 1.
Volume 1 might have been reprinted recently then. I don't know.
But both of them are on here. Okay, I'm going to take off Volume 2 then.
Volume 1's in stock at Amazon, but of course that.
Interesting. I will say too, while we're talking and waiting, we have only 198 likes, but we have 367 people watching. So let's fix that.
Are you saying we should smash that like button?
Exactly.
Green Arrow is the
everyone Hulk smash.
Archer's Quest by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Quiver, yeah. Archer's Quest. Yeah. One of those books by Kevin Smith. Just voted. Thanks, guys. Hopefully House of Mystery will be high on the list. I Need Flash by Jeremy Adams. Omni. Big one's JLA Avengers. That was the big one last year, Richard.
Mm-hmm. Number 1 last year.
Any way to get the Omnis reprinted without skipped issues? No, they don't do that, unfortunately. I know Marvel has from time to time, but a lot of the publishers just want an easy way to just get this thing out there.
I can start to see how you start to piss people off if you just start adding issues or two back in, which occasionally they've done. And it's irritating.
I think the one of the few examples we talked about earlier, the New Teen Titans, where like the first mappings of those first 3 volumes were just the George Perez era, the George Perez issues.
Well, they had
it worked for volumes 1 and 2,
right? Because he didn't miss
volume 3. It was a nightmare.
Like, he didn't have any fill-in issues. By volume 3 is when he went to start doing Justice League and things.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Richard. You're so welcome. And y'all gonna do first time DC Omnis. That I think we have a tentative date of
June 3rd, you said.
June 3rd? Tuesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. I think. I need to double check with everybody to make sure they're available.
It'll probably be that week, though, if you're waiting for it.
Yeah, because I'm interviewing Robert Venditti on that Monday, and I know I can't deal with that Monday.
Ooh, that'll be a good interview.
Those goddamn Super Sons.
Well, yeah, I was actually
every time, man. I got all 3 of them and gave away the.
And now, don't we have material for a potential 4th reprinting of that with mapping?
Yeah, with the Sinestro kid.
Yeah, so they can keep it going. I hope they just keep it going until the omnibus is like takes up the whole screen, the spine. They don't ever do a volume 2. They just keep adding to it.
Just keep adding to it. Oh, but see, Peter Tomasi has. Unfortunately, he's not writing anything else for DC. Right? He's moved on to
That's true.
A lot, which saddens me because Jeff Johns and Peter Tomasi, although they have some great, wonderful talent still at DC, but I really like those guys. God, don't make me buy it. Oh, you're going to, Carl. We're all going to.
You will. You will.
No upcoming breaking news yet. I still have to see a final list from Marvel first. They just had the duper to the super duper edition. I'm looking forward to get Absolute Legion of Superheroes reprint in June, July. Been waiting 10 years for that one. Dude, how are you doing, Chris? First time indie poll at one poll. Skybound, Boom, IDW. That would be a nightmare for us.
Yeah, it'll be insane. Even just within Image itself, there's different, like all the imprints and things. There's so many different rules and who owns, like not who owns what, but like whether or not it's on the creator to have it reprinted and things. Like I know people have asked you for Image, but I feel like it'd be such a nightmare, and I don't even know how fruitful it'd be, honestly, because it really is up to the creators a lot of times in Image to have those things reprinted. If you want something reprinted, like your best way is to reach out to the creator themselves. Don't badger them. Don't I'm not trying to get you to badger any creators, but if you ever run into one at the convention or anything, like ask them, like, hey, I would like this to be reprinted. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, I would love to do an Image one, and I do have a great contact at Image, and I think I'll be interviewing him sometime on the channel. Like I did that Dark Horse interview, and I'm interviewing somebody from IDW because people seem to like to know how publishers work behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I can tell you the Image out of print list. Yeah, James has been working on that. It's huge because that's the hardest part is at any point these creators, because of the contract that they sign, can take it anywhere they want to, right? They could take it, like Bendis took his entire library to Dark Horse and left Image. Mark Miller did the same thing, went over to Dark Horse. So, yeah.
And before that, Bendis went to Marvel and DC and then Dark Horse. There's been a few publishers printing that stuff.
I ordered 2 volumes of Fear Agent by Remender. Oh, they're so good, Richard. So I love that stuff. Well, Josh, you already saw what Kara said about Goon. I don't think it's gonna happen, man. That's an Eric Powell thing.
I didn't hear about that.
On the interview, I asked her about like library editions, and she was like, probably not. They're probably just gonna focus on the Omnis for now because Eric Powell doesn't want to. Maybe she said when it's all said and done, maybe they'll go back and look at it again.
I know when Albatross Funny Books was his own publishing company, I knew he said it's too hard, like the overhead on it. We don't have the money. Yeah. I was hoping that when he went back to Dark Horse to make that an imprint with Dark Horse, I thought that would mean that we'd get reprints of the library editions.
No, it just means that they'll take care of reprinting the books. In omnibus format. And they added a new color too. They remastered the colors for I gave it away already, but the library edition has the older colors, whereas the new edition has the new colors for a couple of the stories. It's pretty cool.
I will say that Eric Powell, now that he doesn't have to do all the overhead of his own publishing company, now he's been doing new Goon stories so we have Eric Powell working on comics again, which is good.
Yeah, he's great. He's doing his own he did that one book about Ed Gein. And then he's working on that other book this year that comes out this summer.
That's about Frederick Wortham, the aforementioned.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm excited for that one too. Weird Western Tales. Jonah Hex is not an omnibus since it's not. It was a deluxe hardcover. It was the list, it was in the catalog as an Omni, and then they took the page count down and made it into a deluxe edition.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
I would love to see that come out. I love that. Where's the link to the poll? Refresh this video. It's in the description of the video. Dark Horse should reprint Concrete. Oh, we were just talking about Concrete.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Concrete. That would be great. Oh, I'd love big, beautiful editions of that.
Yeah, we've only ever gotten that in trade paperbacks, and I think those are all out of print.
Out of print. Yeah.
We definitely need it. You could probably fit that all into 2 library editions comfortably. You need a big fat one, monster size one if you wanted to do that, but comfortably, I think 2 library editions.
It's sad Watchmen is only out in one format. I would like that in different.
Well, in fact, barely anybody has read Watchmen. It's so hard to get a hold of. So, yeah.
Hey, Mike, thank you for the super chat. Marvel needs compendiums. Well, I can tell you without going officially, that they are talking about compendiums. An Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man collection would kill. Even better, X-Men, X-Force, New Mutants, Excalibur, Wolverine from the Claremont era.
Yeah.
I think if they ever do a compendium, you kick it off with the X-Men, like to show just how much an interest there could be in these things, or either Spider-Man or X-Men, right? Those are your 2 big sellers for Marvel.
Uncanny X-Men would be a great placeholder too for whenever the Omnibus Volume 1 and 2 go out of print, because they go out of print, in and out of print so frequently. Have a nice compendium in there.
What? No. Maybe somebody wants that.
That would be a way
Peter would want that.
That'd be what Marvel could do to say, look, guys, compendiums suck. We don't want them to sell. We'll prove it to you.
I want a Day of Vengeance. I love Day of Vengeance. I didn't even like the rest of Infinite Crisis. Oh, ouch. I love Infinite Crisis is my favorite DC event. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, but omnibuses can get tricky in this regard, because even if you like the core story, you got all this other stuff in there, which, may or may not, like Infinity Gauntlet. The tie-ins are not that great, in my view.
Wait till you get a Crisis on Infinite Earths Omni that people are asking about, and they're like, wait, this has absolutely nothing to do with the
I briefly owned that Crisis box set.
I absolutely love that the DC Finest Batman volume is called Red Skies.
Yeah. And I did actually sell the box set on because, it took up a lot of room. And I was like, how much of this do I really adore? Because like the Crisis series itself, unto death, will I defend it? But all the other stuff in there, oh boy.
I do enjoy the Crisis on Multiple Earths. I have the thick trade paperbacks of those, like the JSA, JL, like crossovers from the Silver Bronze Age.
Yeah. No, some of those are quite good.
Yeah. When it was like an annual tradition to have them cross over.
Yeah. Now swinging back to compendiums for a moment, I mean, I would start to worry about what the new retail price would be on some of those puppies, because, like, again, the epic prices are getting so high that
I agree.
And compendium prices stay where they are.
What was the price on the X of Swords trade paperback? Wasn't that $70?
It was 75 for the hardcover. 50 for the trade paperback.
Oh, okay.
In a world where some epic collections are getting up to $60, you wonder if compendiums can stay at that level.
Right. The best thing about compendiums is the mapping. Having all reading order is awesome. Yeah. I don't know how crazy they're gonna get, but people, say like anything over 900 pages, 800 pages for an Omni is too big. We're going to have a 1,600 page compendium next year.
Which is insanity.
That Green Lantern compendium is 1,600 plus pages. I made this joke about it should come with a broken in spine that's already.
That's the Jeff Johns run now.
The Green Lantern stuff. Yeah.
I will say
that would be the place to start.
I have the Lobo compendium, and that thing is like almost 1,300 pages, if not. And I was not too precious with the spine. I was reading it. I'm not too precious with my books. I just like to read them. The reader copies, in my opinion. And I wasn't too precious with it, but no crease on that spine.
Yeah, they hope they.
I've gotten every single one of them for reviews, and I've only had 2. And one of them, unfortunately, is one of my favorites, and that's the JSA one, which has better mapping than the Omni. And immediately it creased. I was like,
"Oh, really?"
I think it's because, and I'm not the only one. When I mentioned that, a lot of people are like, "Yeah, mine did too." Somebody even joked that mine came with a crease. So I think it's the type of that stock that paper stock they're using for the cover, perhaps, because it's different than the. Like the Lobo one has like a flat finish to it. It has like a glossier finish.
Okay.
So perhaps it's that.
Although when I buy the compendiums, it is mostly for reading material. I don't necessarily care about being precious.
Some people don't care. But I think people start to care if they do go up in price, right? Like there is a difference between $60.
Yeah.
And if they start making them, oh my God,
That's how I feel like about all trade paperbacks. I feel like they're all kind of just reader copies. I'm not too precious about like omnibuses and absolutes. I take care of a lot more because they're expensive hardcovers. But
I barely loan out any trade paperbacks these days. But if I do, they're like, oh, I'll take good care of it. I'm like, I'm not precious about this, or I wouldn't be loaning it to you. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe don't spill red wine on it if you can, or yogurt if you can help it. But whatever, I just don't care.
I mean, I've thrown omnibuses in my backpack and taken them on the go. Like I'm not. Yeah.
Sure.
They're meant to be read.
Iron, Neo Adams, Batman. John, you sly dog, you. Just received my copy of 5 years later, Legion Superheroes.
They are, yeah.
Yo, they're big. Wow.
I still have my single issues from when they originally came out. If I wanted to read them, but they are. They're huge.
Compendiums, unlike Omnis, don't have missing issues for the most part.
Well, yeah,
I agree with that. But we don't have that many to compare yet, right? We're gonna get Green Lantern. What was the one? Lobo, I think, is one that I think could have added some issues like Legion of Superheroes in there to explain a couple of things. Death and Return of Superman is crazy. They even have the freaking fold-out pages.
That's awesome.
Have it, and I'll be doing a review of it.
Which we had that in the Wildcats compendium too, right? Didn't they have fold-out pages in that?
They did. You're right.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
And the Cyberforce stick trades that they came out with had those and had the fold-out pages in there too.
Omar, does DC hold the Star Trek books rights? IDW does.
Yeah.
IDW does right now. I just use my iPad when on the go for reading and just Omnis strictly for home reading.
Yeah, that's fair. Sure.
The Wonder Woman by Gail Simone Omni is out of print as well. Yes, it is. Is it not? Do y'all not? I see it on the.
It's on the poll. It wasn't on the slideshow though. I don't know if that's what Matt's referring to.
It's right above the George Perez Volume 2. You're not. Are you saying that it's not there anymore? Let me double check. I just looked at it. Yeah, it's there. It's Wonder Woman by Gail Simone. It's right above George Perez, but there's a couple people that have been mentioning that, so I had to go and look. New 52 issues compendium will be a no, they will not. I go deluxe as a preferred format, but it's library, gallery, and Omni's the next standard.
Yeah, I get it.
Trade paperbacks really for stories I truly can't find anywhere. Yeah, I agree with that. Can Lars give his ranking of various DC Crisis series from best to what? This is like a John question. John loves asking me these questions. What's your favorite DC event, Lars? It's a good question.
Off the top of it probably is Crisis. Off the top,
the original Crisis.
Yeah,
okay.
off the top of my head. I mean, I'd have to stop and think about it.
What's your least favorite event?
Identity Crisis. Oh God, it is truly terrible. Start to finish. Isn't it funny how Dark barely registers on my radar? I remember Dark came out, but I don't know. It seemed like it was barely there.
Dark Crisis was it was okay.
Well, I think it was profoundly okay, and it just doesn't have any influence. Final actually is good, but it's kind of frustrating because, like a Tom Stoppard play, you feel like you can't understand all of it.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. It definitely requires the reread, right? Like,
I do like it. I think I may have even read it twice.
This is a tough one, man. I'm not a fan of Identity Crisis either.
An Infinite Crisis, in some ways, is just a love letter to Crisis with some infuriating character revision.
But better is what he wants to say.
No, infuriating.
Absolutely better in every way. The art could have used some George Perez.
So
could have been issues.
I guess for me, it's Crisis first, then Final, then Infinite, and then Identity Crisis is pure.
Not events. Think Invasion, Legends, Millennium.
Sorry. Well,
yeah. What's your least favorite?
Well, no. The question here was the Crisis series stuff.
Screw that. I'm asking you. What's
favorite? Well, I love how when Invasion was collected, I think even Keith Giffen went on record saying they must really be desperate if they're collecting that one. Which he worked on. DC. Let's look at my DC shelf.
Where is my Armageddon 2001?
That's
what I want. Legit. Where do you rank 0 Hour Crisis in Time, Lars?
I mean,
You got Parallax from that.
I'm kind of agnostic on that one. It was
agnostic.
Okay. It was okay. It was okay. I'm not sure I'm like all that into DC. I'm looking on my shelf, and I don't really have a lot of DC events.
We got 165 responses. I'll stop it here in a little bit. And
I'm the creator runs again. Jeff Johns on JSA, Grant Morrison on Batman, James Robinson on Starman, Gail Simone.
Yeah, but like events like
no. I'm saying that somehow events are not something I go out of my way to purchase a lot.
So you're not an events guy.
I guess not. I mean, I read them. I just don't seem to buy and worship them. Huh. It's interesting. I never thought about it too hard. I never thought about it too hard before now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love your take on
my other DC shelf is in the other room, but thinking over what's on that one, I don't.
Me, you, and Peter definitely do not.
Well, does Kingdom Come count as an event? I mean, because Kingdom Come is quite great.
Yeah, I don't think that's an event. Like, I think DC wanted to make it an event later.
Yeah. Kingdom Come is genuinely pretty spectacular.
Do you remember Convergence? That Crisis?
I do. It did. Yeah, I did read a fair chunk of that. It didn't really make an impact on me.
I think the behind the scenes of Convergence and what was going on in DC was more interesting than the story itself.
Well, that's just it. I mean, Convergence really wasn't thought up as a story reason. Convergence was thought up as a practical reason because DC was moving to Burbank, and they're like,
we need an excuse.
Instead of coming in and going, we have a really great story, let's deploy it, and it'll be awesome. It's like, what can we do to fill those 2 months so we can move?
It's like a restaurant putting on a sign like we're doing construction. Give us 2 months and we'll come back.
Yeah. By the way, I bumped into a former DC staffer recently, and yeah, I was like, all this hullabaloo to move them to Burbank, and they still weren't actually in the DC building. DC Comics was still in this other building, doing their own thing. And if they needed to, okay, they could come in for a meeting and so on. But they're like, why did we move across the country? This just to occasionally walk in and take a meeting. It was probably a rash decision.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about how financially they regret it financially.
Yeah.
After the fact.
They probably should.
It's a very expensive move.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very expensive. Yeah. Because they paid a lot to move the people who took those jobs. They paid a lot to move them. And no,
and there's a great what if in publishing is that because since Jim Lee kind of took over as the president of DC, like there was a time when Marvel filed for bankruptcy that Jim Lee was in talks to maybe purchase and take over and then move Marvel to LA or to Burbank or whatever. So it could have been Marvel that moved there.
Wait. Who was going to buy it?
There was talks that Jim Lee, like they were wanting Jim Lee to maybe take over Marvel whenever they're filing for bankruptcy.
Oh.
And then he wanted to move them to Burbank. And that was like they're like, nah, we don't want to do that.
No.
I've never heard that.
That'd be a tragic mistake.
Did Rob Liefeld tell you that?
Look,
it sounds like a observations kind of thing that I get asked about on Saturday.
It potentially could have been. I mean, Liefeld, but he doesn't. I don't know that he's known for like lying and perpetuating stories like that. Like he certainly has like some crazy opinions on things, but
I like his stuff. Like
I'm a Liefeld fan.
He's turning in.
But like as a person, I take him as a caricature and just laugh off the crazy things that he says. But
no. I mean, the man has worked in the industry. I'm sure.
Oh,
a lot of the things he says are real. But then again, the older he gets, it seems
the thing with Liefeld when I was at Wizard, at least, was that he would come into the room. He has undeniable passion. I mean, my God, his passion is through the roof. But he would come in like the Tasmanian devil. He would command the room for like 45 minutes or an hour. And then he would spin on out. And it was only when he left the room that you realized nearly everything he said was total nonsense.
Wait, you were actually in meetings like that?
Occasionally, but he would. Oh, I've been at dinner.
It was Lars that started the rumor.
Yeah, I've been at dinner with him.
We told stories mentioned in Wizard magazine decades ago. And Kirby, this is your fault, Lars.
I've been at dinner with him. Okay, the fight is: can we agree that I am not the most introverted of individuals? Okay, But yet I was at dinner with a bunch of comics personas, including Rob Liefeld, and like they were such forces of nature. And I was sitting there. I won't name names. I actually got mocked by a comics creator. They're like, Lars, if you would just express yourself every once in a while and have some opinions, that would be very helpful. And I'm like, my God, where is there room for any of my opinions with the rest of the
They
people?
didn't see your eye rolling. They didn't see the eye rolling.
No,
I mean that's the story of the Image founding fathers, right? They're all these huge personalities, these alpha males.
Yeah, I was reduced to being a shy wallflower. I mean, that is the honest truth.
Which is ultimately why
meetings at Image with the 7 founders.
Exactly. I mean,
Rod and Rob. Like, I can't imagine anybody getting a word in between.
Exactly. And I think that's why Rob eventually did not work out with Image. I think it's just like a clash of alpha males, like who's trying to be, the leader.
And then you've got people like Mark Silvestri or even Jim Lee. If you've ever, you all seen interviews and you talk to him, like they're not the loudest and outspoken people in the room. So I can't imagine what it's like. Can we just go back to making comics, guys? Right? Like that's what we are doing about.
I think there could be a great like Mad Men type TV series about just the Image founding fathers, like have it take place like when they're starting their careers at Marvel and then kind of go off into Image. I think it would make it a fascinating series. I've always thought that about the Silver Age Marvel
man, you
bullpen.
could cast Ryan Reynolds at Rob Liefeld to piss him
Oh
off.
my gosh, he would kill that role. He doesn't look like Liefeld, but as far as he could kill
he's
that
a
role.
lot older than Liefeld would have been at 20.
Yeah. And Liefeld would advocate for that casting too. I'm sure he loves Ryan Reynolds.
Any reason why the Starman Omnis aren't on the reprint poll? Granted, they were standard size. However, each volume was labeled as an Omni. Those we put into the most wanted DC Omni that have never existed, because when Hank was there and I was talking to Hank, they were going to make those into Omnis. And I suggested making them into Omnis and adding the shade at the end. Because they were like, some of us want Omnis, some of us want to put this in a compendium. What do you think? And I'm like, I can guarantee you the Omnis would sell. This is Starman by James Robinson. But don't forget to add the Shade series to the end, because that was never collected into the original Omnis. So that's why, because at one time they were going to do it. So I don't think they would reprint them in 6 Omnis again, not in standard size. So I think, I think one day we'll get them.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get them in the compendium format.
Yeah, because you're right. They were called Omnibus, and yet I don't know the odds of that format getting reprinted.
Yeah, so was
I don't think it's very
some
likely.
of the stuff like the Demon, like some of
the
the
Jack Kirby stuff, which in my opinion are the superior way those have ever been printed. But because I had those standard size hardcovers, but they probably won't reprint those because those have been in trade paperback for standard size, but also they've upgraded into oversized format for omnibuses.
I miss the days of presents Fighting American.
Man, Stephen Platt on Fighting American, sign me up. Like that was a wacky, fun era of fighting. I love the whole story behind that too, where Liefeld had to go to court and fight against Marvel, because Marvel is like he's just basically taking the Captain America story,
right?
Yeah, he's taking the Captain America story he's going to write for us and taking it over to Fight American. And it came down to,
if not for that era, we wouldn't have people like Jeff Loeb that have gotten
right. But it came down to Marvel was like, okay, you can do this, but he cannot throw his shield. Like that was like the one thing. Like he can have a shield, but he can't throw it. That's where we're drawing the line.
I did not call Starman to be down. Have you met me? Thicker than a Snicker does not mean compendium.
He wanted the whole thing in one omnibus.
I gave him my suggestion, and then 2 months later, him and his entire team were downsized.
Did they put the Shade series you're talking about? Did they put those issues in the compendiums?
Mm-hmm. It's in volume 2.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Which for some reason I haven't picked up. I don't know why. Because I'm holding out hope one day we'll get the Starman Omnis. I bought some issues of Fighting America thinking it's weird 90s Captain America. Did he have the female Bucky in that book too? I don't remember that.
I don't think so. No.
I think that was the Captain America.
No, the peak of the Fighting American one is when you have the Stephen Platt drawing of Fighting America riding on top of this giant missile.
That's
It
badass.
is 2-page splash. It's amazing.
Dude, that's so extreme. All
Speaking
right.
But speaking of Stephen Platt, you know that when Liefeld and Jim Lee were doing their Heroes Reborn stuff, that there was a plan for Stephen Platt to do a Punisher series in the Heroes Reborn era, which would have been amazing. Stephen Platt on Punisher, sign me up. But then Liefeld left and started doing Fighting American.
Yeah, but wait, like they were like when they were
like there's gonna be a second era, like a second wave of Heroes Reborn characters.
Oh, okay. How the hell would they have done that? Because Punisher was still in the Marvel universe.
I don't know.
Is this another Liefeld thing he told you? I'm holding out for Starman. Oh, dude,
That would be good, wouldn't it?
I'm holding out for Fables, man.
That was well, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. They might be reconsidering that one.
Got over 200 responses, so I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what is taking the. Hold on a second here. Let me make sure I've got the right one. And what is taking the lead so far? Because it's anything goes. This poll is up for a week, so make sure you spread the word. Go and vote. No Indiana Jones here.
Wait, that was because spreading the word, right?
Yeah.
Those are some strange results. My God.
Well, I mean, it just shows you that our our hobby's a very, very small niche hobby compared to the Indiana Jones cult.
Yes.
And I don't. Okay, here we go. Where are the actual questions? Like, I see the. Oh, it's because they keep coming back in. Okay.
Yeah, Omar, I just found some penciled pages of Stephen Platt's Punisher.
What? Why is this not a thing?
I know. I don't know if you can see this, but look at this amazing. Oh, you're probably not going to see it.
No, I can't see that.
I know. I didn't think it was going to glare that bad. Yeah, they can't see it.
That's okay. I'll Google it because I do love.
Just imagine it in your head. There's like 4,000 bullet casings and veins and muscles everywhere. It's Stephen Platt.
And I love Stephen Platt. Like 90s Stephen Platt.
Oh yeah,
Stephen Platt.
He was the peak of the extreme craziness that was going on in the artwork back then.
Dude, I remember. I will never forget walking into the comic book store and seeing that copy of Moon Knight 55 on the shelf. It didn't even make it to where the comics were, and I was like, "Why is Todd McFarlane drawing Moon Knight?"
I mean, Lars, were you with Wizard during Stephen Platt's like short 4-month run where he like skyrocketed in fandom?
I do vaguely. I mean, I recall it. I don't know when was that exactly.
I want to say at 94, 95.
Yeah, it's before my time. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, this would have been 92. Let me see. 1992, 1993, 94 is when those Moon Knight issues were coming out because it was around the time of Infinity War.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's not Todd McFarlane. And the guy showed it to me. No, it's like some guy named Steven Platt, we think. And
he's skyrocketed in popularity.
Within 3 months, he was already contacted by Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, and Liefeld bought him like a Lamborghini or something crazy to sell him on coming to Extreme Studios.
What was it? That if you watch the image,
he went to do Profit, those Profit issues by Stephen Platt are incredible.
Right. Yeah,
but no, Wizard magazine, Stephen Platt went from not his name never being mentioned in Wizard to being #1 favorite artist the next month. Yeah. And you stay that way for 4 or 5 months, and then he kind of fell off the face of the earth.
The Image Evolution, I think it's what it was called. I was trying to think of the
documentary.
The actual documentary, and it goes behind the scenes as to why Todd and Rob got into fights, and it was outbidding people, knowing that Todd was after Stephen Platt, and he was like, okay, I'm going to buy him a car. So he bought him a car and gave him an advance without drawing a single page.
And then Rob,
that guy was a millionaire overnight.
A lot of money was being thrown around in those days.
Yeah, the thing that killed Rob's relationship is he tried to make a separate studio, separate from Image, with separate money and everything, and that was not going to benefit Image at all, and that really did not set well with the founding fathers. Like, wait a minute, why aren't you just keeping your imprint with us?
Wasn't there also some intimation about poaching each other's staffers, which was a big no-no?
Oh yeah, Silvestri is on record, I think, for calling Rob Liefeld and saying, "Stay the f away from my artist."
Yeah, because he was trying to get Turner.
Yeah,
and
like,
it
that's
just,
when
Silvestri
spoke up.
That's the difference, right? Like when he was 20, 21, 22 and a millionaire overnight, and that was the kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
And the other guys were a little bit older, like Jim Valentino. Can't imagine that guy arguing.
Valentino was the oldest of them all, I think, wasn't he? He was kind of like their their uncle, like their.
Omar, there's a question from Saturday Morning Fan that I wouldn't mind answering if you see it.
Do you know the time?
7:06.
So Lars, what do you think of Hero Illustrated magazine at the time?
Yeah, I'll this question I'll take. There was some weird intimation that Wizard was just hostile to other comics magazines and wanted them destroyed. Nothing could be further from the truth, because certainly I know the attitude of the Wizard leadership was always, no, we want there to be other publications. Now, we want to be, king of the hill. We want to be number one. But of course, there needs to be other comics publications, partly because an industry that only has one thing is not a healthy industry.
No.
If you're the best of many of these publications, that is a healthy industry. But if you're the only one standing there, no, that's not a good position to be in. So no, there wasn't any. Again, they wanted to be the best, but there wasn't any naked hostility. No.
Was there any interactions with the Comics Journal and any?
The one I recall is that because as I recall, occasionally Comics Journal was the one who would trash us, just because.
Absolutely.
And there was one where they trashed us, and then they took a April Fool's Day picture or something of Gareb sticking out his tongue. Okay. And they stole that picture and put it there on this, whatever bit of mockery or derision they were doing. And Wizard, and I thought this was quite classy, didn't call them out or take objection to the scorn that they were pouring upon us. They just said, you owe us a fee for stealing our photo.
That's funny.
Which, it was absolutely true. So, but that was the extent of it. They're like, you took our photo, pay us a fee, but beyond that, it's over.
Yeah, Comics Journal. I love Comics Journal and Fantagraphics and Gary Groth and everybody, but they were very much the pretentious, snobbish kind of like, we're doing comics journalism the right way kind of thing. Like,
well, it did become a matter of our readers are more important than your readers, or our readers are the pure comic book fans. It's like,
because we read the good comics.
Yeah. Wizard had a readership that dwarfed a lot of the other publications by sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Wizard was the most representative of the market.
Well, Wizard sales
and to go, we're more pure than you are. Well, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, Wizard sales were up there with like the best comic sales for single issues, like as far as like number accounts.
Oh, I mean, I think when I came in, it was still about 250,000 copies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jesus Christ, 250,000 copies.
Yeah, which tell that to Marvel DC, like they can have 250,000 selling issue today. Like that's insane.
Like every month, because we were kind of central to everything. Again, so these other publications have much smaller numbers, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. But to say you don't represent the market, isn't it kind of the reverse? I think that's the problem, is that they had some difficulty processing the Wizard readership. These are the things they want. These are the things they prize. It's like, well, yeah, they do. I mean, get over it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing. Gary Groth and Fantagraphics has always had the same feeling about superhero comics in general. Like, they deride it and they look down upon them, but they are still the best-selling comics in that format, at least if you're not counting like, manga and Dave Pilkey and Rain and Talgmeyer these days. It's still like the number one genre.
Comics Journal is a very good. It seems like a very good publication. I know that every
time, it is. Yeah.
Every time I kind of glance at them, though, it seems like every article is a bunch of stuff that I've never heard of. So it doesn't encourage me to buy it really. But
I believe Stephen Platt went to Hollywood with storyboards. Did he?
That's where he went. That's why he wasn't in comics for very long.
Yeah.
I know that Steve Scrose went there to do storyboards. I know that of all people, Mark Pasella, who was not that great of an artist, went to do storyboards. Murat Michaels did it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, a lot of the extreme guys went over. I don't know if it was connections or what. That's pretty interesting. I did not know that Stephen Platt was one of those guys either.
Yeah, that's why you haven't seen him do comics in 30 years.
Yeah. Omar, can you get Stationary Wanderer at 710?
Oh my God, Lars. Hold on a second, boss. Hold on, boss. He did do something, didn't he? Like his art style has changed recently.
Stephen Platt?
Yeah.
I've seen him
he does covers.
Does he? Okay. I've seen him post artwork on his Instagram and stuff, but yeah, it definitely doesn't look the same insane detailed, like amazing extreme stuff that I loved back then.
My favorite Green Lantern run, probably Judd Winnick or Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns probably. Who was it, Lars? Station Wizard
Wanderer 710. No.
Oh, Wizard is he just wanted to profit.
So, yes, so this is the one thing of mine from Wizard that may have actually slightly endured is that we did that hardcover Alex Ross Millennium Edition or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go in the back, there's basically his entire gallery with me, and like it was basically like getting Alex to comment on like every piece of art he had ever done, and I had to sit on the phone with him for I forget how many hours, and we would do it in 2-hour batches. And I remember by the end of it, Alex would start to get quite tired, and I'd be like, what about this piece? Because we were hoping to milk insight. You know, it's like, what's this piece of art? And he would say something insightful. By the end of the 2 hours, I'd be like, what about this piece of art? He's like, I don't know. It's a piece of art. He was really flagging. But yeah, that's the one thing of mine that kind of still exists, I suppose.
And Lars, you're immortalized, right? What was the issue that you were immortalized in?
Are you referring to the Lobo issue?
I am referring to the Lobo issue.
Yeah, I was in an issue of Lobo. It's true.
Yeah, where they take a shot at you?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but a bunch because some people from Wizard were in it. So
yeah,
yeah.
Was it the comic convention issue? Was it?
It was this weird crossing into the real world sort of affair.
There's a comic convention special that came on.
It was a bit bizarre. Yeah, Lobo 61. It was a bit bizarre even by Lobo
standards. Oh, okay.
James has you already.
Look at that. Yeah. No, the comic convention annual that Kevin O'Neill did is like one of my favorite single issue comic books ever. It's so fun.
Right. Yeah. But I'm sorry, everyone. Oops, hold on. Oh, my damn spam. Sorry, everyone. We really should be talking more about DC than Wizard, but there we go.
No, it's okay. People were asking. Like, were you in any of those goofy Wizard comics like Squeeze the Monkey Lad and the X-Men Leader gag strips?
Not those specifically. I was in a bunch of them because you would wind up being in a bunch of them. The one, like, I had just moved to New York, and I'd only been there like a few weeks, and I'm totally finding my feet. And then Inquest comes in, and they go, hey, you've not been photographed before. Can we use you for an Inquest issue? And what they wanted to show was someone being overcome by games. So they had me in this table. They cut out a hole for my waist. And then I popped up and they surrounded me with games. And then they had like shelves of games threatening to fall down and kill me. And my boss came back and he wondered and he wasn't mad at me. He was mad at Inquest. He wondered if this was the best use of his employees' time.
Yes,
was to spend all morning being photographed, nearly being killed by games. So yeah,
totally was.
Yeah, so you would wind up in a bunch of the photo shoots because you were a warm body about the place, and they needed warm bodies.
All right, I am going to just go over some of the things that I'm seeing so far. We've got over 235 votes, and holy crap. A lot of people, number one choice was JLA Avengers, of course. I think that's going to be
right. It's a little surprising in a world where they put out that DC crossover one and the amalgam one. It took
a miracle for that to happen in a small trade paperback run. Batman by Neil Adams Omni is also getting a lot of love, as well as the Batwoman by J.H. Williams. But again, at any time, anything can change. Deathstroke by Christopher Priest seems to be, because this is going to be open for a week and a couple of days. So He-Man Masters of the Universe is doing really well. And let me look at Batman, because I'm trying to see if like maybe some of the Absolute Batman Absolute Batman and Robin, Absolute Authority. Those aren't Absolute Day Tripper's doing pretty good. And Prometheus.
That was in the top 10, 20 last year.
Mm-hmm. What's the Absolute Green Lantern? Let me see if those are doing any good. Out of curiosity for Lars, they're not doing that well. You need to go in there and vote Lars.
What? This is Legion here or something?
Yeah. Wonder Woman by Gail Simone and Perez Volume 3 are doing solid. 3's doing a little better than 2, which is weird, but then that can change. And He-Man, Harley Quinn, not getting a lot of love except for Volume 1.
I would
about, and none of the Batman like Golden Age. Actually, Golden Age 6 has 2 people voting for it as their first choice. Volume 5, looks like there's 1 vote as its 4th choice. But anything can change. Remember that.
If I were to beg people to vote for Legion, it will be to save your gunpowder for the new poll, in which there's some definite Legion titles on there that we badly need collected if DC can get around to doing it. So,
for sure.
The DC Most Wanted, that will be on June 3rd. Still trying to figure out the time and everything. Is it bad that as much as I love some DC Comics, Flash, Green Lantern, Batman, I own no collected editions?
Yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay not to own them. Josh was asking about JLI. I don't know how JLI is doing. I didn't even, probably not so well if I just kind of, because I'm scrolling through here and I'm not seeing anything standing out. Green Lantern. Justice League. It's not doing as well as the Bronze Age Volume 1. I thought Volume 2 of the Bronze Age was the one that's hard to find.
Yeah. What about Detroit? Is Detroit doing well?
Let's see. Justice League.
There might not be this hidden tsunami of Justice League Detroit fans as you might think, but
well, it was on the top 20 last year, so it is,
Oh yeah, it is. That one's doing the best out of all the Justice League.
It might be doing okay.
Yeah, Lars.
I probably will buy the DC Finest edition just because, I want to revisit it. It'll be easier to read it, frankly, because that Detroit one was pretty huge.
Detroit in general. Detroit's doing better than all the other Justice League. Lars does not really like Jeff Johns, but that's a story for another day.
Just not a super fan. I don't object to him.
I would vote for that one. I love DNA with Olivier Coipel on art. That run is phenomenal.
That art was very good.
And I think we only got 2 of those trade paperbacks, and that's it. That's all it's been.
But concentrate your firepower on the Baxter series. Again, I helped Peter with the ranking there. It'll be an eye for an eye omnibus. Go for that one first, and then the greatest hero of them all omnibus. So.
And on that note, we're going to start wrapping up. I just want to thank my wonderful co-hosts for helping me kick this off. Thank you to Taylor for helping with the slideshow. Thank you to Jim for putting it all together and helping us vote, making it easier. James Abel, Dom of X, and of course, Lars, Norwegian Assassin.
Yeah.
Taylor, where can people find you, buddy?
Taylor Talks Comics on all social media platforms. But if you could go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like I said, I just did my library tour. So if you want to see all the wild and crazy comics that I've collected over the years, you can check that out. That's on my channel. And also, I do all the social media for Near Mint Condition.
And that is Taylor Talks Comics. And what about Lars? You don't want to be found, but
no. I'm becoming an expert in not be. I'm like from The Tick when you just hold up a branch and go, I am a hedge. Lars Pearson, publisher and editor-in-chief of Mad Norwegian Press. You can find me at, thank you, James, as always, madnorwegian.com, where we do a number of guidebooks to Doctor Who, including a history, the definitive timeline to Doctor Who, which I co-write with Lance Parkin. And I do like how someone in the feed remembered the Live, Laugh, Lars.
Yes.
From the other show. And you go find Lars. Yeah, when I become a demagogue, I will probably use that slogan. Thank you.
The schedule. Yeah, I probably need to meet with Taylor and Dom about future postings and things like that. it's honestly, my life is still trying to catch up on everything after my dad passed away, and that was in October. So it's like either making videos or editing or reading, and that's about it. That's what I focus on. But if I can get the schedule out, that would be really cool, because I did like thinking ahead. But then at any time things can change. I will be back tomorrow, and tomorrow is a really cool interview. I'm going to be talking to Kat Schuler, who is working with this organization for turning literacy, like taking comics into prisons for people that are on parole and things like that, because of like the literacy levels. It's really cool. And Catherine is Mark Grunwald's widow, if you're not familiar with who she is. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman, and I've interviewed her in the past, and I love talking to her, and she's always doing something, and it's something comics book related, because she always, she wants to make Mark proud, and it's what Mark would have done. And I love that about her, taking the legacy of Mark Grunwald and just doing things. And I mean, she is all over the place, but this is the most recent thing she's doing, and I'll be live with her at 4 p.m. in the group of the people that are helping with that.
I did what's in the newspaper stumble upon a picture of a prison library, and the librarian in the prison library was shuffling these books, and one of them was a copy of Imzadi by Peter David. And I did cut out the picture and send it along to Peter and go, "Isn't it wonderful? Convicts are reading you."
I'm sure you got a big kick out of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just saw an update on Peter David's health. It was, I don't think it was a good update, and I need to go and read it. It just popped up on my phone while we were doing the live stream.
Oh, okay.
I need to go and check that out. But thank you everybody for watching. Smash that like button. This is a pleasure to get to do, and I will announce the top 20 sometime next week. The poll again closes on May 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I will send that list over to DC. And that's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe. We're out of here.
Yeah.
And that